don't think I finished putting on my makeup. Or doing my hair. How are you? Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. We're all in our places with bright, happy faces. This is the way we start our new day. Let's see. We have hearings. I'm a little late. Good morning. Welcome to Wake and Bake with Lolo. I'm Lolo. I'm a little late to the wake and bake, but I'm here. And I just want to say thank you so much, everyone. There's one beautiful person watching. I love it. I hope your day is good. Hi, Neil. How are you, sweetheart? Okay, let me get our shit together here. We've got so much promoting innovation in fair markets. I don't even know what that means. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Quantum. Yeah, we're going to talk about quantum. Maybe today, maybe not. Let's see. Where am I doing this? What am I doing? Where am I going? I don't want to do the airline industry. I want something else. Commerce, is that it? No, that's not it. Wait, what did I decide we were going to watch? Shoot. Hi, Lee. Oh, how are you, sweetheart? Okay, I love you too, girlfriend. I can't wait to see you again. It's a provincial holiday here in Quebec, so government offices and stores are closed. Luckily, I'm going to Ontario later. Neil, you're funny. Well, that's interesting. That's silly. It's a holiday and you not sell liquor. I didn't like blue laws. I used to live in New England too. And I was drinking then, so it was especially problematic that they didn't let me buy alcohol as often as I wanted to. But it was a lot of stocking up. Good morning, Teresa. How are you? I'm trying to find which I had all these great plans. Where's the hearing that I wanted to? Okay, wait. I got to think about it. It's the Senate. The Senate is the one. Wait. I don't know why my little tabby tab went away. Here we go. Here we go. The government runs the liquor stores. Yeah, see, that's the way it was in New England, too. Which, again, whatever. But I don't know. It's just a control thing, I think. I don't like that. Oh, the U.S. Postal Service. That's what we wanted to watch. Hold on. Let me find it. Hold on. I'm going to get to it. Wait. Okay, so wait. Which committee is this? Oh, it's Rand Paul. What the fuck is his committee? Okay, guys, when you're going to do your hearing, I actually just need you to fucking give me a link to your YouTube because I don't want to watch it on your stupid thing. Does that make sense? Never mind. Okay, let's watch it. Okay, we're gonna go back. Oops, sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't even see what I'm doing. Okay. You're gonna hear Rand Paul, but I'm very sorry to hear that. Have you seen Charlie Angus YouTube chastising Nova Red in Vancouver for putting crispy gnome on their board? It was good stuff. Oh, that sounds interesting. I think I heard something about that, but I never really did. Whoa. Eric Adams, chief of staff, and got arrested with others with federal bribery charges. No details yet, but AP reported. Oh, I would like to see that. Actually, that's I don't think I knew his chief of staff, but I did know one of his other assistants. God damn it, this fucking window. Okay, come here. Come here, duck. Let's see what's going on. Okay, wait. I'm moving a little slow this morning. I really apologize. Okay, here's what we're going to watch. Good old Rand Paul. All right, this is a hearing on the Postal Service, so I'm going to pull up that Eric Adams
for a higher
story.
credit limit and calls it reform. That's the heart of the problem. The post office has been protected from the hard choices that would stop the bleeding. So the bleeding never stops. Look at the record. We were told that the 2022 reform law which shifted $107 billion away from the post office, would pull the Postal Service out of the hole. We were told that the Delivering for America plan would modernize the network and restore solvency. We were told this time it would be different. It was not. Since those promises, the Post Office has lost another $26 billion, and it is spending money it does not have on infrastructure it may not need. Since 2007, the Postal Service has lost more than $117 billion, $9 billion in the last year. Before anyone calls those losses uncontrollable, its own numbers say otherwise. It has roughly $18 billion in controllable losses since 2007, $3 billion just last year. This is not a rough patch. That is a broken business model.
I know
The
they were
Postal Service
under
has already
investigation,
maxed out
Jane.
all $15 billion it can borrow from the Treasury. The Postmaster
Thank
General
you.
warns it could run out of cash as soon as September if it continues to
I
meet
know,
all
we always went to
statutory
New Hampshire, too.
obligations. So the question
lived
is
in
not whether the
Boxer,
Post
maybe.
Office needs more money. The question is whether Congress will keep rewarding failure without requiring change. This is a business built for a country that no longer exists, and it refuses to adjust to the one that does. First-class mail is down 34% since 2014. Over the same period, the Post Office grew its career workforce by 9%. That makes no sense. Volume down by a third, headcount up. No private business would do that. Labor is about 80% of the Postal Service costs. At UPS, also unionized, it's closer to 60%. So the difference is not the union. The difference is whether management will adjust to reality.
Oh, no, I don't
Instead of adjusting, it made things worse. Since 2020, even as revenue fell, the Postal Service converted about 285,000 workers into career positions, raising their pay and locking in decades of pension and health obligations it has no plan to fund. When a private company's volume falls, it reduces labor costs. When the Postal Service volume fell, it added employees and made them more expensive. This is not reform. This is the opposite of reform. The new Postmaster General did not make all of these decisions, but he controls whether they continue. The fleet electrification, the multi-billion-dollar network redesign, the capital projects without a clear return. These are not unavoidable costs. They're expensive choices, and Congress deserves to know whether new leadership will continue them. At the very least, the Postmaster General should immediately implement a hiring freeze to get labor costs under control. There are estimates that $1.8 billion could be saved in the first year with a hiring freeze. We've had a year, and I haven't seen anything, any action in this direction. And while it runs up these costs, the Postal Service will still price its core product below what delivery cost. A stamp is 78 cents heading to 82, still among the cheapest in the developing world. With its dominant products priced below cost, it's no wonder the Postal Service can't break even. That is not a business plan, it is a hidden tax. Before Congress considers another dollar of relief or more borrowing authority, the Postal Service should show the committee 5 things: a real plan to bring labor costs under control, proof that private partners will be used where they cost less, a commitment to stop capital spending.
Further, isn't the USPS already somewhat privately owned or something like that? Isn't it something? It's not privately owned, but isn't there something weird about its relationship to the U.S. government? I thought. But what he's saying is he wants to privatize it more, folks. Yep, that's right. Because you too could have Jeff Bezos in charge of your mail. That's right. I could see that happening. Just think for a minute. Mail by Amazon. You don't think I think in a year you're going to be like, hey, I think Lolo said something about Amazon owning the Postal Service, and now they do. It's a separate entity. Thank you, Lee. Lee knows. I'm so not smart about this. It's a separate entity provided for in the Constitution. Okay, so that makes sense. So it has some independence from, but it is still overseen by, I would imagine, I guess, since these guys can even have a hearing about it. But that's really interesting because what he wants to do is privatize it, and all I see is your mail delivered by Amazon.
That shows no return,
We know how
a
they treat their
willingness to
employees.
consolidate facilities that no longer make sense, and proof the service mandate can be met without permanent losses. And if it cannot, an honest debate about the mandate itself. Anything less is not reform. It is a slower, more expensive way to fail. And as always, the bill will be sent to the American people. Senator Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for convening today's important hearing. For more than 250 years, the United States Postal Service has helped bind our country together. It's connected families, it supports small businesses, it ensures that Americans nationwide can receive the essential mail and goods,
I always
no
think this
matter
guy
where they live. The Postal Service is the only carrier that delivers to every single address in America. That's a feat that for-profit competitors don't even try to meet. For communities across the country, particularly
I
harder
always
to
think this
reach
guy is a
rural
Republican.
communities, the Postal Service and its workers provide an essential public service each and every day. In 2022, I was proud to lead and pass the Bipartisan Postal Services Reform Act, which increased transparency around postal delivery performance, ended overly burdensome retiree health care pre-funding requirements, and integrated Postal Service retirees' health care into Medicare, and codified six-day delivery service. However, it's clear that the Postal Service continues to face significant challenges. The Delivering for America plan has not worked. Costs are up, service is down, and customers are paying the price. The plan has not yielded the financial results needed to stabilize the Postal Service's bottom line. Over the past 5 fiscal years, the Postal Service has posted $9.7 billion in controllable losses. Earlier this year, Postmaster General Steiner testified in the House that the Postal Service could run out of cash as soon as this year.
Oh, boy.
Since then, the Postal Regulatory Commission gave the Postal Service flexibility on how it spends revenue from its additional rate authority, providing the Postal Service with an additional $2.4 billion this year. The Postal Service has also temporarily suspended its normal contributions to the employee retirement plans to preserve cash. While the Postal Service has not provided a formal estimate of exactly when it will exhaust its available funds, it's clear that Congress and the Postal Service must take action to ensure Americans continue receiving mail reliably and affordably for the next 250 years. The Postal Service has shared some proposals with Congress that would help put it on stronger financial footing, including investing its pension funds, revising its calculation for its civil service retirement system obligation, as well as raising the borrowing limit. The Postmaster General is also now asking Congress to consider reviving an appropriation for the Postal Service. These proposals certainly deserve serious review, but any reform must come with real transparency, real accountability, and clear service improvement plans. The Postal Service must also do a better job of ensuring that every employee returns home safely at the end of each day. Last year, Nicholas Acker was tragically killed in an accident at a processing facility in Allen Park, Michigan. That facility was cited by OSHA on its safety standards compliance. And at my urging, the Office of Inspector General has now launched a nationwide facility safety audit. I expect the Postal Service to fully cooperate with the audit and double down on its efforts to protect all of its employees when they're on the job. And finally, we can't discuss the future of the Postal Service without addressing the recently published proposed rule on voting by mail that would enable President Trump to hijack the Postal Service for his own political gain.
Yeah.
The Postal Service is a proud tradition dating all the way back to the Civil War of successfully delivering absentee ballots.
There you go.
In 2024, they securely delivered almost 100 million ballots. Last year, the Postal Service reaffirmed that its job is simply to transmit the mail and explicitly said they do not administer elections. The President's March executive order directs the Postal Service to create quote, new mail-in absentee participation list, which they will use to verify which voters are eligible to receive and cast ballots through the mail. This would give the Postal Service unprecedented authority over American elections.
Not a good thing.
And is an unconstitutional subversion of the Postal Service's duty. I'm disappointed that the Postal Service chose to give in to the president's illegal demands by issuing a proposed regulation that risks disenfranchising millions of eligible American voters nationwide. The Board of Governors did not even vote on these approved changes. Under the proposed rules, states must submit each absentee voter to a new national database controlled by the Postal Service and comply with new federal ballot mail-in requirements, or they will be prohibited from using the mail-in voting in their elections. The Postal Service will also conduct undefined ballot verification processes to ensure states meet these new federally imposed standards. Ultimately, the federal government will serve as the final arbiter as to who can actually vote by mail. Yesterday, I led the entire Democratic caucus to once again insist that the Postal Service abandon its effort, uphold the law, and return to its core functions. The Postal Service has one mission: to deliver the mail, no matter who sends it, and no matter where it's going.
I remember that story. That was terrible.
Mr. Steiner, I urge you to abandon these efforts and return the Postal Service to its constitutional role of simply delivering the mail, not acting as a partisan tool for the president. And lastly, I would like to reiterate that the Postal Service must be transparent and responsive to this committee so that we can work collaboratively on the many issues that we face. I hope that today's hearing will be a productive conversation about how we can work together to improve the financial position of the Postal Service and to protect its ability to deliver for each and every American. Thank you, Mr. President.
It is the practice of this committee to swear in witnesses. Will you please rise and raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you will give before this committee will be the truth?
I looks
the
like a
truth,
gangster.
And nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Your mail
Thank you.
fell
You may
off
be
the
seated.
back of a truck. I'm very sorry.
David
to hear
Steiner
that.
is the 76th Postmaster General of the United States and
Imagine,
Chief Executive
Postmaster
Officer
General.
of the
Wow.
U.S. Postal Service. He was appointed by the organization's Board of Governors and began his tenure
Very,
on July 15th,
historical
2025. In his role as Postmaster General, Steiner also serves as a member of the Board of Governors. Steiner is the former CEO of Waste Management, a $20.4 billion waste and environmental services company operating throughout North America with nearly 50,000 employees. He was CEO from 2004 to 2016. Mr. Steiner, you are recognized for your opening statement.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Chairman Paul, Ranking Member Peters, and Senators of the committee.
Oh, he's a Southern.
I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the future of the Postal Service, a venerated institution that has driven the growth of these United States for over 250 years.
How embarrassing.
Longer than the country itself.
How embarrassing, Mr. Steiner.
The title of this hearing is apt. The Postal Service has a broken business model, and we welcome the committee's focus on fixing it. You know, levers available to private sector enterprises and to government agencies are unavailable to the Postal Service. So, for example, first, we're mandated by law to deliver to every address, more than 170 million of them, 6 days a week. And there are over 1 million new stops added every year. This leads to 84% of city delivery and 52% of rural delivery routes being financially underwater. Moreover, 58%, or 18,000 of our post offices are losing money, incurring over $2.5 billion in operating costs. In a normal business model, if 70% of routes are losing money, you would adjust the routes. In a normal business model, if 60% of the stores you had were losing money, you'd close them.
Oh my God.
We're not allowed to do either.
Oh my God.
That is a broken business model. Second.
Okay, sir. The U.S. Postal Service is actually not a money-making profit center. It's not supposed to be. And yes, you are supposed to deliver to every address. It's kind of like that thing. Remember Cinderella? Do you remember Cinderella? when the Duke was going around the kingdom and giving invitations to the ladies, eligible ladies of the kingdom. His instructions from the king were, don't miss any house. And so even those folks knew, yeah, the USPS it's not a business. It's a service. It's a utility. Important information is shared with the citizenry through the U.S. Postal Service. It's one of the ways we guarantee that some information goes out to everyone. Hey, Dan, how are you, darling? So, hi, Mr. Spock. Yeah, 420. I will. But this is not, it's not, oh, I'm sorry, your route is not profitable, so you're just not going to get your mail, or you're going to have to come to town to get your mail. What the hell? This is, I get what I see where he's going, and I'm sure he's going to try and explain it away in some weird way, or maybe not. But Mr. Steiner, I understand that you ran Waste Management, which, did quite well as a company, as a publicly traded company for many years. I don't know if during your tenure, but I think so. And but with all due respect, this is not the same thing. This is not just a cost center that you're trying to evaluate, right? You're not looking at the profit and loss. I mean, you can look at a profit and loss and you can say, wow, I need to find ways to streamline this portion of my organization because I really need to, to get that part of the organization is really suffering. So I need to make sure all the other parts of the organization are supporting that function because that function is still critical. See, that's the key. Mr. Steiner, what is mission critical to you? What is mission critical? First of all, what is your mission? And second of all, what is mission critical? Well, delivering the mail to every address, regardless of the challenges, snow, sleet, dark of night, whatever that little saying is. I mean, they make a whole saying about it. Okay, the Postal Service doesn't go, yeah, we'll get your mail to you. That's not their tagline. It's through snow and sleet and dark of night or something like that, right? Like, so, okay, in the Pony Express, like that, they fucking got shot at. Okay, so with all due respect, the history of the organization you're running has a pretty storied past when it comes to what their mission is and how dedicated they are to that mission. Now, I'm not saying anybody should struggle, but at the same time, I see where this is going, and I do not like what I see. So there.
We're not allowed to unilaterally raise prices, and we're required by law to give billions of dollars in discounts to many mailers. Third,
bulk mail.
We can only invest our retirement assets in U.S. treasuries.
Maybe we should cut out some bulk mail. How about that? How about we stop with bulk mail? Now, there's a place you could probably save some money. That either they're going to pay more for the bulk mail rate, or we don't do certain types of mail through the mail. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, here we go, Neil. When I ran Waste Management, we could recycle or trash all those useless letters and pamphlets, but the woke left won't let the post office do that. That's right. Yeah, exactly. To offer low-cost checking savings account, interest-bearing accounts. Wait, what are you talking about, Max? I'll have to
If we were able to invest conservatively in other assets, we could have had nearly $1 trillion in additional retirement assets. And our retirement plans would be well overfunded rather than underfunded.
Is he saying that if only we had, I don't know what the limitations are on the pension funds for the Postal Service on investments. What is he talking about? What type of investments would the Postal Service pension funds been held back from? Hi, Tom. Be safe. Oh, be careful. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? What is he talking about?
Fourth,
I hope I
we
find
pay an
out.
unfair allocation of CSRS
Oh,
benefits for
postal
retirees
banking.
that were with the
Yes.
Post Office Department before it became the
Yes.
independent Postal
It's
Service.
actually really smart.
That costs us about $3.5 billion a year. Fifth, we cannot borrow more than $15 billion due to a statutory limit that was established decades ago that has not been adjusted for earnings or for inflation. Sixth, we're not allowed to manage our workers' compensation claims, costing us anywhere from $400
does that
to
mean?
$800 million a year.
What do you mean you're not
Now,
allowed to manage them?
despite all of these operational
You
and
don't have
accounting
legal
restraints,
counsel?
we're taking steps to fight our way back. That includes reducing transportation costs by $2 billion. We also reduced work hours by 56 million hours, equivalent to $3 billion, and reduced our overall headcount
True. So much
by
underbanking,
28,000.
Max.
We've also made dramatic progress in improving our service scores, recently hitting on-time delivery numbers not seen in at least the last 5 years. This is significant progress, but it's not enough, and we will continue to drive costs and drive service. So, to me, the choice for Congress is clear. Either remove the mandates that create the unsustainable business model, or compensate the Postal Service for those money-losing mandates.
There's not the only two options.
I will note
babe.
that reimbursing the Postal Service for money-losing mandates is not a novel idea. In 1971, Congress foresaw that they would be asking the Postal Service to do things that were guaranteed to lose money. In return, Congress decided to pay the Postal Service $460 million a year for those public service mandates. However, this public service reimbursement has not been appropriated since the 1980s. Our preferred proposal is that Congress update this public service reimbursement to reflect the true current costs of those mandates and allocate us those funds. However, we can also achieve profitability if we remove the money-losing mandates.
Oh.
But doing so doesn't just affect the Postal Service, but the entire ecosystem around it. That ecosystem supports $2 trillion in revenue and 8 million jobs.
Don't forget
If
about
the Postal
small
Service reduces service
businesses.
and raises prices, that ecosystem suffers.
Don't forget about
Jobs are lost,
Amazon. Wait a
and the
minute.
overall economy suffers. So in closing, I'm here to tell America that we can do anything they desire, but we can't afford to do everything they desire without
Wow.
more help.
Ouch.
The Postal Service has been an integral part of the growth of America, subsidizing the growth of steamships, railroads, aviation, and technology. So subsidizing the post office has been a
don't feel-
spectacular investment.
You know what's interesting is, okay, just calm down, Skippy. Okay, just calm down. But you know what's interesting to me is I don't trust this guy with more money to run this, because he seems to really disdain the mission of the fucking Postal Service. I don't think he's fit to run it. I mean, I know that's probably an understatement, but I'm just saying, sir, I don't have a lot of confidence in you.
For the United States. We believe this economic engine
Man is a liar.
and that investment is worth saving. And we look
I mean,
forward to
yeah,
discussing
it
with
is,
you
but not
how to
because of
best do
you.
so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be glad to take some questions.
Thank you for your testimony. We'll now proceed to questions. There are things you can control and things you can't control. And the mandates, I frankly would remove the mandates and treat it more like a business. I just remove them completely.
There you go.
Even some compromises.
There you go. Just fucking privatize that bitch. Oh, Dan Steely, good morning. They didn't even he didn't even think twice about it. Rand Paul was like, just privatize it. Just shove it. People out in the middle of nowhere that he represents, by the way. He's a DeJoy clone, yeah. That he, like people that he represents, fuck you. Fuck you. Get your mail from somewhere else. Let the chips fall where they may. That's what libertarians are to me. Let the chips fall where they may.
You go from 6 days to 5 days, you save $3 billion. You go to 4 days, you save $3 billion. Another $3 billion. That'd be $6 billion. That's 2/3 of your annual debt just by going to 4 days. You could let people pay. If they want it 6 days, they pay an extra $30 a month or $50 a month to get it. I think what you'd find is in the marketplace, almost nobody would pay. They'd get used to getting it in 4 days. But there are things you control. Hiring freeze. Hiring freeze, we see estimates as much as $1.8 billion a year, and actually cumulative costs going up higher. Why no hiring freeze?
We actually did institute a hiring freeze probably
There was
about 40
something
days
about
ago.
that, Stephanie, but I
Put
don't
out a memo
recall
not
the
only with a
sequence of
hiring
events.
freeze, but a spending freeze.
How does it work to have the postal rates change? The Postal Regulatory Commission does it. Do you ask them to do things? What is the communication
Dan,
between
it's
the
because
Board of
of
Governors and
volume
the
that it
PRC?
works.
Are they completely separate? How do rates go up?
Yeah, so our rates are capped right now. Our rates are capped by an inflation factor and then a number of stops
Yeah,
basically.
totally,
tied
Do
to
you
Yeah.
that.
submit something to them saying we're losing money, we're below with the market rate, we have to go up? Do you
Well,
submit that to them?
yeah, we recently, so it limits us as to what type of price increases we can get. We recently filed a petition, and they have undertaken a 5-year review. We recently filed a petition that said, allow us to raise prices to meet this loss gap that we have. That petition is under consideration right now. I would hope that the PRC would give it full consideration. You know, the truth is, Mr. Chairman, that in my opinion, the PRC has not put the financial sustainability of the post office first. And they will tell you they have a number of factors that they have to balance. I completely agree with that. But at a time when we are failing, I think they should give more credence to allowing us to do the things that we need to do to become profitable. And they have
Profitable?
prevented us
You're
from
not-
doing
it doesn't
a number of
matter.
those things.
If some of the numbers were accurate, you're telling us you would have gone a long way towards reducing the $9 billion, saving $2 billion in transportation costs, saving $3 billion in hours. That kind of goes
Really,
along with hiring
Stephanie?
freeze.
Oh,
That'd be
no.
half of your deficit for the year, but I don't believe next
Oh,
year's
that,
deficit is going
yeah.
to be
Oh, I know what
half
you're
of
talking about.
9.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, anyone that, you know, I've been associated with a number of businesses, ran a very large one for a long period of time. And the problem that you've got in any business is that you've got inflation in your wage base, you have inflation in your supplier base, you have a lot of different inflation. So what you try to do is to get enough productivity to offset that inflation in your cost base. This year, we will offset all but 0.2% of our cost increases. But the
know.
problem is, in
Oh,
order to make money,
Dan.
any business person,
We're
go to
gonna
any
read about
business school,
that.
they
I'm
will tell you,
done.
get productivity to offset your inflation in your cost
People
base,
want.
and then price and volume can drop straight to the bottom line, you become profitable.
So currently, I just want to be clear, there is a hiring freeze at the post office.
There is.
Raising the price from 78 cents to 95 generates about 1.6 billion. Hiring freeze about 1.8 billion in the first year, goes up over time. 3 billion for each day
No,
reduced.
you're not trying to get on the Fortune 500.
I think the hiring freeze could have come earlier, but at least you will start saving some from 40 days ago. There are some people reporting that this really isn't a full hiring freeze. I would like details on exactly what a hiring freeze means to you to make sure it means the same thing to us. I think that when you and I had talked, and when we had talked with your staff coming into this, what we really wanted was you to prepare for us. This is where we spend our money. This is where we could reduce. This I can do on my own, and this I can do with Congress's help. That's what I would do if I were in charge. I would put out
Bob, how
things
you
and say,
doing? That's
well,
right,
instead of just
FTC.
complaining about the mandates, tell us
on.
specifically. You know, it looks like for each one day, it's $3 billion. And, you know, Congress needs to address that. Part of this is Congress's fault, you know, because they have unrealistic mandates that make it hard for you. But the previous postmaster expanded the post office. He made the post office bigger. The only thing you really can control is you can outsource, not insource. We have known that since the beginning of time. It's not rocket science. Contractors cost less than the government employees. 80% of your cost is labor. Reducing labor is the only thing you can do, and contractors do it better. I don't care if you outsource 98% of it and have no post office, and you're a shell for contracting, because it's the only thing you can do.
I know.
because
No one
nothing
wants
the
your
post office
batshit
does
crazy
is
ass in
efficient or
charge
makes
of
money.
anything. That's what I was
So,
thinking.
What
I'm
I
like,
would like is for
dude,
you to send us a more detailed, this is the money that comes in, this is what we would do, this is what happens if the rate goes up. We have sent a letter to the Postal Commission. I really think that we ought to consider combining it and just having one, just have a board of governors, have no postal rate commission, just have one commission. The people who run it should be setting the prices, and there could be a veto power by Congress if they didn't want to do it. But the problem is when you vote on prices, nobody wants higher prices, so everybody wants to please the public, and so everybody would always vote for lower prices, but then that's part of the reason why we're here. So
yeah,
I hope
exactly.
you will at least pledge to
What
us
I'm
that you'll
doing.
send me a more
This is a
detailed
really good
analysis
data
of
point.
what you can do, what you can't do, because the gist of what I
Oh
got from you
God,
today
please
is we just
don't
need to
say
borrow
that,
more money.
Stephanie.
And that to me is, I think, defeatism and not something I'm
And how is
interested in
Kentucky
doing,
doing?
just loaning you more money when you lose $9 billion a year. And it's not just you, it's the mandates, but it's also the system. And, the hiring freeze should have, I would have done that day
He's got a
one.
pool guy that can
I
do it.
still hear reports that it's not a complete hiring freeze. So we pledge to send us
Alan
more information
Weisselberg
on
will
what
do it.
exactly we need to do to make the post office whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Glad to do it. And Senator, when I took this job,
Time's
I
up.
took it and had the
Sorry.
very narrow focus of how do we make the Postal Service profitable.
That was your
As I've gone through,
that was your focus? See, you started from the jump, sir. You're really dumb. From the jump, you just don't get it. From the jump, you don't understand the assignment. Good morning, no. How are you, darling? You don't understand the assignment, sir. It is not a for-profit corporation that you're supposed to come in and get the bottom line and get it to a growth and a profit and a growth percentage each year over year. That's not, you missed the point. You just came out of the gate and proved to us that you aren't the right man for the job. But they love you. I'm sure they love you. God, what a face.
this job, I've
He's got a really
recognized
hard face
that
to
you
watch.
can't look at the Postal Service in isolation. You have to look at the Postal Service
Yeah.
in the context of this $2 trillion industry that is virtually 100% dependent upon the Postal Service. And so what I'm trying to figure out, and I think what the discussion should be, is how do we do what is best for the American people and what's best for the American treasury?
No, you
right?
don't
How do
wanna-
we get the most net dollars
Why would you hand over
into the
pricing
treasury?
to the private sector, Dan?
And
Come
I wouldn't
on
have
now.
told you this
Why
even
would
3 months ago, but I would tell
Lawyer
you that
over,
today,
there's no ear.
I think it's worth discussing
Let's take a
whether
great short a few minutes ago about
having
that.
us act as an economic engine, a development company, if you will, of this $2 trillion industry that surrounds us, if that wouldn't generate more net dollars, generate more net jobs, generate
No.
more net service for the American public than reducing days of service and reducing numbers of post offices. Now, again,
Well, I think that
I'll do it either way. We can do it either way. But I
you-
think that's the discussion we
You
need
could
to have.
argue that the Egyptians building the pyramids created trillions of dollars in jobs. I think it's a false argument because the money could be spent somewhere else.
Got it.
So we could
Thank
build
you.
pyramids, we can build the post office bigger and call it, for every dollar we create another dollar. But what you're ignoring is for every dollar you put into government, that dollar would have been spent much
Oh, the
more
plan he was
effectively in the private
criticizing. I
marketplace.
understand. Yeah.
Senator Peters.
All right. All right, Gary, come on.
Mr. General Steiner, the
Still
Postal
think you're a
Service's
public
proposed
officer.
vote by mail rule, published on June 2nd, at the direction of the President, as I mentioned in my opening comments, I believe should concern every American. This rule marks certainly an alarming departure from the Postal Service's long-standing tradition of neutrally delivering all types of mail. You get a piece of mail with an address on it, you make sure it gets delivered to that address in a timely fashion. You don't ask any other questions. What
Ooh.
this basically rule will do is going to turn the Postal Service, however,
we call
into
him
a
Turn.
ballot verification agency that's would control
call him
basically a
Turn
master
Blanchard.
database of every American absentee voter. It would also give the Postal Service new power to determine whose
Yep.
ballots get delivered. I think the Constitution is clear. Elections are to be administered by the states, not the federal
Yep.
government. We have a tradition of our local communities and states administering these elections. And once again, not the federal government. So my question for you is, under
Right.
what legal
Right,
authority
Stephanie.
can the Postal Service regulate who and how people can vote by mail.
Yeah, as you know, our regulations are proposed regulations, not final regulations. As to the authority, I used to be a lawyer, but I was a business lawyer, not a constitutional lawyer.
Oh.
And so I would have to defer that to the courts to understand the authority.
Well, I think it's clear that there's nowhere in the Constitution, there's no federal law that the Postal Service is authorized to create these types of voter databases, ballot verification systems, or mandatory standards. It just simply doesn't exist. It's hard to interpret a law when it doesn't even exist there, which is what we have. Just because President Trump wants to do this does not make it law, doesn't make it right, doesn't make it constitutional. There is certainly a massive difference between general mail requirements and regulating elections. Routine changes to the postal network can have a small impact on election mail, but this effort is a power grab to swap constitutionally mandated state control for what the president wants. I think it's very clear. So last year, Mr. Steiner, you issued a rule that explicitly said that the Postal Service has, quote, no role
Seriously.
In administering elections.
Seriously.
What has changed?
I don't think anything has changed. Senator, I'm not a political person, and the Postal Service is not a political organization. We, as you said, I think you quite aptly said, we deliver mail. That's what we do. We deliver mail. And that's what ballots are. Ballots are mail. Now, they are a special kind of mail, obviously. They need special care. And so years ago, we recommended what we call Kit 600. And Kit 600, the fundamental premises of Kit 600 is a unique barcode and a unique envelope. That allows us to move those ballots more efficiently, more securely. That is what our proposed rules suggest, is that we have unique barcode, unique envelope. And that is not something that is new. That's something that's been being used by states throughout the country on both sides of the political spectrum. So California has followed it, Oregon has followed it, Arizona has followed it, Florida has followed it, among many other states. And so, to me, it's not a political question. It's a question of how do we most efficiently and securely move ballots. We've been recommending this for many years. All this does is make it a requirement.
Well, certainly best practices are different than having a mandatory requirement. You can follow best practices to deliver it more efficiently without having control of vast voter rolls and having the ability to have that data. This is basically a backdoor way for the federal government to get voting information that states control under the U.S. Constitution.
That's it.
So yes or no, if a state refuses to turn their absentee voter list over to the federal government, will the Postal Service still mail their ballots under this proposal route?
Under our proposed regulation, no. We would tell the state that we need the manifest in order to, look. What we're asking for,
that's the answer. You would tell no. So the proposed rule basically coerces states to conform to these new requirements and hand over their absentee voter rolls.
What?
Or face the consequences of not being able to vote by mail. Some states, that's all they do. Oregon is completely vote by mail. If they say, no, we control the list, the states control the list, we're not going to give it.
Oregon has followed Kit 600 since the day they started voting by mail.
This is a different issue. This will be a lot different issue. You're telling these states either give the federal government this information, trust the federal government, trust the Trump administration. We'll take good care of these. And if you don't do it,
oh my God,
you can't mail absentee ballots. You're going to make a decision that people cannot vote by mail. That's unacceptable.
Well, all that does, Senator, is make sure that we match the ballots that a state believes they're sending out to what actually gets sent out, right? And so,
why? How do you have time or money to do that, sir? How? Are you going to hire more people to do that, sir? Is that what you're going to do? Because you were just complaining and whining about how non-profitable you are. You were just fucking complaining about how much work you have to do and the fact that you can't have enough of a big salary in order for you to do all this silly delivering. Everybody needs their mail. What the fuck? So what is it? Do you have time on your hands or are you up against a wall? Okay, which one is it? Which one? Because it can't be both. And you can't tell me this is bullshit. Sir, why are you protecting a credibly alleged child rapist? I don't understand it. That's like, I mean, I guess I'm glad he was just honest about it and didn't try and obfuscate. It's just like, no, 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 they're not. No, fuck them. Give us your data. It's extortion. That's extortion. What happened to states' rights? I thought the Republicans were all into states' rights. What happened to that? Is that not in fashion anymore? I don't understand. When did that change?
So all the state
Oh my
gives us
God.
is a list of here are the voters that are supposed to get ballots, and here are the ballots. We then compare the two, make sure that the ballots that are supposed to be sent get sent. If Maryland had followed that, they
Well,
probably wouldn't be in the problem.
how about the issue of if you've run out of ballots, then I guess you mailed them all. I mean, how about that? Haberdashery. What are you talking about? David, your slip is showing. Okay, sir. You need to, figure your shit out.
They're in today.
Not your
So
job.
it is a much more efficient, a much more effective way to make sure that states, I would think that states would want the information.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't they want to give us their Wait a minute. My argument is failing miserably. Wait, what did he just say? He said something right before that, which it kind of got me. Hold on. Oops, my mouse is acting up. Oh my God, why are you acting? Okay, wait. I want to hear this.
States
And
control the
Oregon
list.
has
We're not
followed-
going to give it.
Oregon has followed Kit 600 since the day they started voting by mail.
This is a different issue. This will be a lot different issue. You're telling these states either give the federal government this information, trust the federal government, trust the Trump administration. We'll take good care of these. And if you don't do it, you can't mail absentee ballots. You're going to make a decision that people cannot vote by mail. That's unacceptable.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
all that does, Senator, is make sure that we match the ballots that a state believes they're sending out to what actually gets sent out, right? And so all the state gives us
Why
is a
would that
list of here are
be a
the
list?
voters that are supposed to get ballots, and here are the ballots. We then compare the two,
Why?
make sure that the ballots that are supposed to be sent get sent. If
Why?
Maryland had followed that, they probably wouldn't be in the problem they're in today. So
I don't think you run elections, Mr. Steiner. I don't think you have a role to play in elections whatsoever. So matching ballots to voters is not your job. That's what the registrar does. That's an entire function. That's an entire function outside of the Postal Service. Now, if you were going to be honest, you'd be saying, we just want to make sure states aren't printing extra ballots and sending them to everybody twice. That's what he's trying to say. What he's trying to say is that's the reason we think states are printing multiple ballots, damn it. No, it's not, and it's not your job. It's just not your job. There's really, really well educated, trained people working on election administration in each of the states. And they don't need your help in matching voters to ballots. This is another way for this president. It's not even this regime per se, although they appreciate it. It's the way for this president to control the narrative on elections because the big lie is very important to him. Very important to this president. You can tell it's really important to him. He still is just really upset about the 2020 election. He's upset that Tulsi wouldn't investigate it good enough. And she was troublesome with Iran. Which I have a story about her and her guru. Like I just, it's not your job. And we have to not allow this regime to demonize states and their administration of their elections, because the end goal for them is just to control. You want to talk about controlling the vote and controlling ballots? That's what happens when you hand it over to this regime. They're going to be doing that. But trust and believe. I've done enough election denial research starting in 2020 with all the bullshit that was happening then in particular, and looked at all the data. You know me. I know Doug Frank. You're going to have to tell me, if you're going to tell me the 2020 election was rigged, you're going to have to tell me whose data you're looking at. Is it Seth Keshel's? Is it Doug Frank? Is it Mary Fanning? Tell me whose data you're looking at, because, bitch, I know what the people were saying in 2021 and beyond, okay? I know what they were saying. So if you're going to argue election integrity with me, oh, you've chosen the wrong bitch. So this I know is a boondoggle beyond boondoggles, just to control. And no, your data will not be safe with them, because we have basically court cases existing out there proving that Doggy, who admitted it actually, didn't keep our data safe. The most precious data, our Social Security data, our health data. They didn't keep any of it safe. There's all kinds of leaks documented. So no, sir. No, I don't trust you. It's not your job. Second, I don't trust you. So forget it. It's a hard no. And just wait for November, bitches.
It is a much more
elections have
efficient, a much more
consequences.
effective way to make sure that states, I would think that states would want the information
Oh, yeah.
to ensure
the deflection.
that the ballots that they think are sending.
That's the deflection. Like, who wouldn't want this? I don't. I don't want it. I don't want it. They already have a way to figure that out. It's been tried and true. There is very little evidence. There's basically no election fraud. Because believe me, they do pursue those cases. There's not a significant enough election fraud to even be worried about this. This is literally one of the things we didn't have to worry about. This used to be one of the things, like gas prices. This used to be one of the things we didn't have to worry about. But here we are. Can we nope him off the planet? No, he's here to stay. He is one fat cat, baby. If you look up in the dictionary what the definition of fat cat is, it is Mr. David Steiner.
Out are the ballots that are actually being sent out.
Well, they do know
Someone
what they're
eventually
dropping
will
mail.
make them off the
I think they can
planet.
understand that. They think if they put an
Or
address
liver.
with their voter rolls on a piece of mail for a ballot and give it to you, they do expect you're actually going to deliver it. You don't have to say, we want all of your information. We want that information in our control. You mentioned Maryland. I think that was a printing error. This regulation wouldn't have done nothing to fix what happened in Maryland. The states control their own elections. That's pretty clear in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And an effort by this administration to nationalize elections and have the federal government having this information is incredibly dangerous precedent. You can imagine sharing this information with the Department of Homeland Security and using these lists for a variety of nefarious purposes. We need to protect the integrity of the voting rolls. We need to protect the separation of elections from federal government and ensure that our state and local governments are the one administering their own elections. That's what this is about.
Because they are.
We are the Postal Service. All we do is deliver mail. We're trying to deliver it securely, efficiently, and accurately.
Okay.
Senator Johnson.
What the fuck? Make sure
Postmaster
you get
General
it to the
Steiner,
right
welcome
address,
to the meeting.
bitch.
Thank you for
That's what you should be
taking on this
doing.
very thankless task
I'm not going to
and bringing your business acumen to the table.
Russian run.
Solving the problem.
Russian run. Russian run. Maggie Hassan. Maggie Hassan's going to hand him his extra butthole. Hey, here's an extra butthole for you, mister.
I'm sorry, 800 million.
That's what I thought. So just to underscore, we did a
Florida
postal reform bill in
everyone.
2022.
Yeah. Yes, Dan.
$107 billion offload the American taxpayer it didn't even come close to solving the problem. I think we need to really focus on that. Again, that's what I resisted during my chairmanship. And I'm not going to do it until you fix the problem.
Hydraulics on my
$107 billion
chair is broken.
didn't even touch the problem.
Yeah, and you know, I think that is a perfect example of how we got where we are, right? The problems that were fixed there were what I call the accounting problems, right? Welfare, retirement, different things like that. They weren't the operational problems that plague the post office, right? The mandates that I talked about in my opening remarks. And so that bill took care of a lot of the accounting issues.
Again,
not all of them.
At the expense of the American taxpayer.
But it exacerbated the operational problem. How did it do that? It required 6-day-a-week delivery.
Same for
And
Texas?
so instead of,
Holy
you know,
shit.
what I'm here to say is let's have the discussion on how we holistically look at fixing both the accounting issues and fix the operational
very
issues,
lucky
because
to
the
live in
operational
California.
issues
Let me say
have
that.
not been addressed in the prior Reform Acts.
For a lot of reasons, but also for that.
Senator Hassan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair
I
and
love
Ranking Member
our,
Peters for this
concept
hearing,
for AG.
and welcome, and it's good to see you, Mr. Steiner.
good.
As you already discussed with Senator Peters, the Postal
Maggie's
Service
looking good
recently proposed
today.
a rule that would allow
Little
it to
blue
unilaterally
eyeshadow.
block ballots from being sent to certain voters before they ever have the chance to cast a vote. This un-American plan will inevitably result in some law-abiding U.S. citizens not being able
There
to
you go.
receive
There
the
you go.
ballots they're
Well, I've
entitled
got your
to
federal
and
registry.
reduce citizen participation in our democracy. And in my state of New Hampshire, where people vote absentee only if they are physically unable to be at the polls on Election Day, and often don't know that that will be the case until kind of the 11th hour, it means that some eligible voters will be unable to vote in my state. The plan is also blatantly illegal.
Insanity.
The Constitution is clear that states are responsible for elections, not the Postal Service. So I'll join with other colleagues in urging you to immediately withdraw this rule. But even setting aside the merits of the rule and your own views about whether it is legal, I want to ask a more basic question about the rule of law. If a court tells you to withdraw your rule or to not enforce it, will you follow that court order?
Obviously, we follow court orders.
Okay,
Good.
somebody
Okay,
clock
moving
that.
on. On-time delivery for first-class mail in the New Hampshire region has fallen by more than 10 percentage points over the last 8 years and is now more than 5 percentage points below the Postal Service's own target of 87%. That means nearly 1 in 5 letters are failing to arrive on time. Prior efforts, including cuts to overtime and moving some mail processing out of New Hampshire, likely have contributed to those delays. As Congress considers options to address the Postal Service's financial deficit, those options will depend on your commitments to meet certain service levels. And I think you laid that out today pretty well. What specific commitments can you make to maintaining on-time delivery in rural areas, and how can this committee hold you to them?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we don't want to maintain
With more money.
on-time delivery. We want to improve on-time delivery,
Right.
because it really is, you know, to me, that is the calling card of the Postal Service, right? That is the price of admission that we have.
So close.
If we can't effectively and
Actually, your
efficiently
mission.
serve our customers, then I completely agree with you. You shouldn't give us any help. And so, you know, as I've looked at it,
Wait, what?
a big part of what we've got going on is the fact
This
that we
guy's
don't
too
have
used to being a
end-to-end
corporate
visibility.
CEO.
And that is sort of what I call
He
the
acts like
moonshot
he's
at the
talking to
Postal Service now,
shareholders.
is
This is like reminiscent of shareholder meetings when CEOs try and talk through issues with shareholders. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Trust me, I've actually prepped a CEO for their shareholder meeting. So I actually know the behind the scenes, and it's all bullshit.
how do we get end-to-end visibility? Because what happens, I won't go into a lot of detail, but what happens is when that box that's going to New Hampshire gets delivered, and then, you know, it's supposed to go first in, first out, and then another 100 boxes get delivered. It gets buried somewhere and lost.
Just because my time is limited.
Sure.
What commitments can you make to maintaining or improving on-time delivery in rural areas? And again, what do you need from this committee? And if you can be brief, and we can follow up after the committee if necessary.
Yes, yeah, no, look, I would love to have, there are so many different categories of first-class mail. I'd love to have that. Let's make sure, you know, we should be delivering at least as well as our competition delivers packages. So we're talking sort of 95%.
Right, and look, rural America depends on the post office for a whole lot of things. That last mile of delivery is critically important. We're talking about people's medications. We're talking about payments for small businesses and supplies. So this is really important to us. So let me just move on to one other issue, and I want to follow up on on that last line of questioning with you and get some details and get some commitments. But during your House testimony on March 17th, you committed to giving Congress 5-year financial projections on cost-cutting measures. In a subsequent letter, the committee asked you to respond by this Friday. Getting timely analysis is critical for Congress to act on your requests and understand the impacts of possible reforms on the services provided to our constituents. Will you meet Friday's deadline?
Yes, I think we can meet Friday's
I
deadline.
think we
Okay.
can.
To be honest with you, I've spent the last couple of days studying for this, so I haven't had a chance to look at that. But we'll get you something by
Well,
Friday.
so have you read the analysis? I mean, it was due Friday, and if you think you're going to meet the deadline.
Yes.
Wait,
So what we've put together is basically, here's what our
It's turning red.
trend line is, and then here are the things that can move that trend line up or down: price, volume, productivity, and so what we can get you is here's the trend. Here's how we think we can bend that trend positively or negatively.
Okay, wait. I just want to point out something because I know something about like corporation project development, blah, 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 right? Okay, so just like something went in my ear and went. They had asked him for a 5-year projection. There's a very specific request that the Senate committee made of him on March 17th. He committed to give this analysis of the 5-year projections, blah, 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 right? Very straightforward request, pretty easy, but a very specific request. What I'm hearing this guy say is what I would hear a junior project manager try to explain away why they didn't complete their task on time. This would be someone who is trying to explain why they didn't hit the deadline. And all I hear is, I didn't even start the work. Literally, either this guy doesn't know what his team is working on, which I think it's hard to believe that he's been studying for this if he didn't have the thing that he committed to in the last appearance before the House over 3 months ago. That's enough time to put together a 5-year projection with analysis. That's enough time. I just want to point out, this is the biggest, I'm shocked that a CEO of his stature would answer a question in that way. And really what it does to me is give me zero confidence that he is actually qualified to run an enterprise. That he is the Peter principle, that somehow he failed upward. Yep. White man in suit fails upward. I hear someone who is in over their head, who doesn't know their shit, who might not have been listening during his prep. I don't know how they were prepping him. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is not, if I were a board of directors and that was a CEO that was reporting to me, I'd be like, oh shit. It doesn't even, of course he does. He's got the full complement of staff. There's no way that you wouldn't do, this is a very specific request. This is not like, oh, would you get us this information? And, it's kind of ambiguous as to what information is being looked for. No. This is very specific. And it's something that he should be doing anyway, by the way. It's not something that is unusual ask. So anyway, I don't know. That just got me. Because I'm like, oh boy, you really don't know. And you're going to now try and dance on your dick to tell her that you don't have the assignment. And you're going to try and make up in the moment, on the spot. He's trying to make up what they're doing. Yeah, that tan is executive level. Yeah, that's a good boat. He's got a nice boat.
So let me.
I think that's
yeah.
exactly what
Well,
you'd
let,
like
let
to
me.
see.
Yeah.
Oh my
what
God.
cost-cutting measures have you identified as part of the analysis, and what impact would they have on the projected date that you'll run out of cash?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what we're doing from a cost-cutting point of view, it really, for us, is all about the effective and efficient movement of the mail. And so you've got to look at the various
Right,
categories.
but what
So-
specific measures have you identified, and
Yeah.
what does that do in
What is-
terms
what's
of
the
the
top line of
long-time
your
projection for
analysis?
when you're running out of
Right,
cash?
so let's walk through, if you want, we can walk through the entire sort of mail system. So you've got
Oh my God. He didn't do the analysis because the answer, even I know, the answer to that question would be, oh, well, let me give you the top line of our analysis. Because if it's due Friday, you know it was in final draft form and being reviewed, if it exists at all, which I think it does not exist, because I think the marching orders for these guys, these Trump appointees, is just to slow walk everything and to just take anything that Congress asks them to do and go like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do that. This guy's making it up in the moment, and we're paying him a lot of taxpayer money. That's disgusting. How can chuds stand for this? Every one of us deserves better. Every one of us deserves better. But this is embarrassing. This man should be embarrassed.
the carriers, right? The carriers that deliver mail, that pick up mail.
He's now just like, I'll just,
You know, we look.
you know what? I don't know the answer to your question, so I'm just going to walk you through the entire process, and hopefully through that, some of the answers of to your question come out. That's literal. I know what's going through this man's head.
All the time at how do we make those routes more efficient.
He
Then you
thought
go to the
because he was
processing
Dump's
plants.
friend,
We're looking at
everything
how do we
would
make
be a
that more efficient.
cakewalk.
Obviously, you have to have investments in technology. And then that mail gets transported. We're looking at how do you take out transportation costs. You know, as I mentioned,
This
we've
is-
taken out $2 billion in
This
transportation
is not an
costs.
analysis.
And then
This is
you've got it
spitballing.
showing up again at another plant where it ultimately gets delivered by the carrier, you know, that full cycle. We look at every single phase of it
So
to
you
see
have
where we can save
proposals
money.
in this letter, and I realize I'm a little over time. So what do those proposals do to the projection of when you'll run out of money? Are you going to be able to be solvent for longer?
Yeah, I do want
He
to
didn't
clear
do
up
it.
a misconception
He didn't
because,
do it.
I think the PRC testified that we've got cash to last us a certain amount of time. Let me be very, 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 very clear. We are out of cash. We are out of cash. If we had to pay all of our bills today,
He knows
we
that.
could not pay all of our bills.
Okay, he knows that, bitches. Okay, he didn't know actually the analysis and what he was going to do to make the organization more fiscally solvent. Notice this. I really want you to notice this. He had enough information to tell you exactly the fact that he has no more cash. I don't have any more cash. I'm out of cash. But I can't tell you like if we've been working on an analysis of why we don't have any more cash. Yeah, I can't really tell you specifics about our only job of looking at to why we don't have enough cash. I can't tell you what we found out because we didn't really look into it, but I'm going to tell you right now we don't have any cash. That's literally what he's saying. It's like the kid that or it's like, you know, I don't know, what is it? Someone comes in and I can't even believe this. Like if someone comes and asks you for money and you're like, well, okay, well, give me a loan to do this. What are you going to do with the money? I don't know. I'm going to do something with it. Well, then no, you can't have the money until you tell me what you're going to do with it. You know, like, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with it, but right now I need that money. Hi, Paul J. How you doing, darling? You know, like, I don't know what we're going to do with that money, but I need it really. Yeah, I'm good for it. You can trust me. I'm a garbage man. The garbage industry is not cluttered with corruption at all. I'm sorry. It's like a combo. This guy's a combo pack. He's like incompetent and really failed upward and doesn't even know how to snake his way out of a fucking congressional testimony without looking like a fucking idiot. And he's corrupt. So he's stupid and corrupt. Oh, it's great.
Today. We are out of cash. What we are doing right now is we're basically borrowing money from our retirement plans to fund current operations. I'm not particularly comfortable with that.
What? What now? You're borrowing money and using your pension accounts as collateral? I mean, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry. Oh my God, it's a Ponzi scheme. This guy is the Sam Bankman-Fried of postal services. What is going on? Oh, I need my what is happening poltergeist gif. I don't have it. Damn it. Oh my God.
I
No.
promise you our employees are not particularly comfortable
And
with
neither
that.
am I.
You know, you all shouldn't be comfortable
Right.
with that. None of us should be comfortable with that. To me, that's why we have to have
right,
this discussion of how we fix this broken business model.
So I am over time. I want to follow up with you, and I hope you will be more clear
Glad
about
to-
what
glad
the
to.
what the savings you think will do in terms of your cash
my
flow and cash
God.
solvency.
Absolutely.
Thank
Not
you.
even
Glad to
answer
come
how
meet with
long
you
he'll be
at
solvent.
any time you'd like to have that discussion. Glad to do it.
Senator Langford.
Chairman, thank you. David, thanks. Thanks for stepping into
I
this
want his
role and
hard
taking this
drive
on. This
checked.
is a tough task to be able to take on.
Yeah, apparently
I'm
we
always
have
interested
bounced me off
when
of-
we in Congress are talking to USPS about how you balance your budget. I find that always ironic for us to be able to be in that conversation as a body that has $2 trillion worth of overspending this year.
Okay.
And our
I
debt-
wasn't going to bring that up.
No, I will. I will. It is a challenge that we got to be able to figure out. I want to be able to drill down
Why
on
do you
multiple
think that
things
is,
here.
Senator Langford? Where do you think that expenditure is coming from? Could it be DHS? Could it be what you voted for, sir? What all of a sudden now you didn't vote for all that money? Really, Langford? You spineless twat? You really didn't think that was going to happen? You voted, bitch. It's your party that did it. Big ugly bill. Remember? You were all in. And you're going to complain about the deficit? What? Give me a break. Bitch, you
Part of the
built
challenge
it.
that you're facing is not only the complexity of the organization, the number of people that are in the organization, the equipment that are there, the out-of-date buildings, and all the other things that are there that make this incredibly expensive to be able to manage, but the lack of flexibility to be able to actually help fix this. So I want to drill down on a couple of things. In the short time that you've been there so far, we're dealing with, over the last 10 years, and you've only been there months at this point, but over the last 10 years, delivery has gotten slower as well. So we've got increasing amounts of expenses and decreasing speed of service. In the same time period, Amazon and Walmart are racing to try to get deliveries to people's homes in 2 hours. And it's now taken 5 days for a lot of folks in rural America to be able to get a letter moving where it used to take 2 in the
Okay.
past.
It's not
As you're dealing with
exactly
the
a
debt in other
toaster.
areas, this has got to be one of the areas
Okay.
you're focused on as well.
Okay, Langford, let's calm down a little bit, all right? Because letters aren't toasters. Okay. And Amazon and other places also have distribution points throughout that have extra toasters. They don't have a letter from your grandma. They don't have extra letters from grandma. Okay, so comparing these two is really a bad idea.
Well,
Just
it's
saying.
just speed of delivery because that increases the volume of people actually using that. Where are you going on that?
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, the moonshot, the visibility, right? I mean, the reason why, well, let's look at the context first. FedEx, Amazon, UPS, deliver, call it anywhere from maybe 8 to 10 billion packages a year. We deliver 110 billion pieces every year. So the magnitude, the difference in the networks is dramatic. And so for us, it's all about visibility. We've got to know where that piece of mail is at any particular point in time, because what happens is
Well, so
it
does
gets shoved to
FedEx.
the back of the line and forgotten. And so we are working on it right now to where we can get visibility into every piece so that if we see that a piece is delayed, we can call that plant manager and say, the piece is delayed. You know, this is not rocket science technology. This is not technology that doesn't exist. This is technology that exists, that other companies use, again, because we've underinvested in the network, because we don't have the cash.
Then where is your strategic plan to build it? Then where is your strategic plan to build those systems that you want and to shift funding into that, and or to ask Congress for an extraordinary appropriation to kind of retrofit the USPS for certain parts, right? Whether it be delivery software or whatever the issues are, where there's a streamline opportunity, that could be an investment by the taxpayers into the United States Postal Service. I would be very supportive of something like that. But you can't just come in and say, yeah, it fell off the back of a truck. You know, like that's not giving me confidence that any money that would be appropriated towards the US Postal Service would be used on good, solid, foundational planning. I need someone who's I don't know if he's a logistics expert. I don't know if that's what happens. Maybe with trash collection, that's probably what happens. You need to be a bit of a logistics expert. But it seems to me that that's the type of people you want to hire. That I'm sure there's plenty of former Amazon and FedEx and DHL and whatever employees, high level employees that would be a good brain trust for the USPS. To figure some of those thorny issues out. But this guy, oh my God, he's a babysitter for Trump. He's just babysitting this whole thing. And this is really, this should be very angering to really a lot of us, if not all of us, because this is les incompetents.
We haven't been able to get that end-to-end visibility. That is absolutely where our focus is right now.
Okay. It's interesting to me. There's been an ongoing dialogue for a while about zip codes. And this has been fascinating for me. And a lot of it's really based around tax collection, quite frankly. Online businesses and trying to be able to get tax revenue to that local community. And let me just give you a couple ideas. We have a beautiful community in northern Oklahoma called Enid. Vance Air Force Base is there, great community, fantastic folks. There's also North Enid, which is a different town. And everybody just thinks, no, it's the northern part of Enid. No, it's not. It's a totally different town. Same zip code, by the way. And the confusion is always there between North Enid and Enid to try to figure out where's tax revenue going and everything else. And they base it on zip code collection on this. This has been an interesting thing. They're not looking for a new post office. They're not looking for a new physical location. They're just trying to do better tracking of where actually revenue should go and how that should actually flow. I can give you lots of different ideas, like the fabulous community of
very
Hochatown
unique
in
issue
southeastern
that you should have met
Oklahoma,
with
which
him
is
in
a
private
great
about.
resort community around a lake.
Yeah, they
They're
do
also
a lot of
connected
the
to
last
Broken
mile
Bow, same
stuff.
zip
You're
code on
right.
it. They're trying to figure out, they're totally different operations between Broken Bow and between Hochatown on it, but the tax revenues all go into one. How do we solve this? They're not looking for a new physical place. They're just looking for a different number on this. Why is this so hard?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, every number means something in that zip code, right? And our entire network, so those 110 billion pieces only move because every number means something. And every time you add a new zip code, what do you have to do? You have to add something to the network, right? That's why, when I first heard that it would cost $800 million to fix all these zip codes, I thought, well, that's crazy. But it's true, because you don't fix, there is not one light switch that you flip and say, okay, now the mail goes there. You've got to change the entire network. And that takes a lot of capital.
Is that a technology issue, just from out-of-date technology? Because just about every other system, you change some numbers on it and it reroutes.
No, it's not technology. It's physical assets, right? And so So for example, we'll have a sorter that's lined up and it would have call 24 bays in it, right? You add zip codes, you got to add a 25th bay, a 26th bay, a 27th bay, because those boxes are going to that specific zip
Okay.
code. And you don't have to add that in one plant, you have to add that in every plant. And
Okay.
so it's the multiplying effect of the capital that's required. You know, we are, and I would love to have our staff sit with your staff, and again, with any members of Congress, let's figure out a way, because the underlying problem is insurance rates, taxes. It's not delivery of mail. The underlying problem is not our problem. Would love to have us all get together and say, how can we fix this and change it without having to.
Hi. You know, in March, when you testified in front of the House, I have a feeling the speech was a similar speech to what we're hearing now. Okay. And so, sir, at least you've had the last 3 months to come in with viable, actionable projects that would address these core issues that you're identifying, like visibility along the line or whatever, chain of custody, I guess, or something like that. You know, like, excuse me. But you've done zero analysis of what it's actually going to take to make this at least a solvent enterprise that can be sustained and serve the public. This is embarrassing. This should be so embarrassing. Yeah, it's not a
Massively
problem.
change our system.
Yeah, I look forward to that conversation on it. We've had some good dialogue before about the electric vehicles that were purchased by previous administration
Oh
with no
my
chargers and some of
God.
the waste that was done there that
Oh
should have
my
been
God.
actually going toward.
Boy, you got to get in there, Langford. Why are you simping for a fucking credibly alleged child rapist? I don't get it. The fact that this country is not investing in electric vehicles and other alternative forms of energy is going to put us so far behind the rest of the world, it's not even going to be funny. Get ready for your head to spin. Because guess what, folks? Doesn't really matter if we're number one in electric vehicles, because the fucking billionaires, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit what you drive. They'll sell you both.
Towards actually improving the quality of delivery on this rather than towards some other
Shut
random
up.
goal that wasn't met.
Shut
So thanks
up.
again for your work.
Thank you.
I love Senator Kim. Senator Kim will set it straight.
It's not delivery of mail.
Okay,
Thank
yeah,
you.
whatever.
Senator Kim.
Guys.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for coming
love you,
before us
Mr.
here.
Kim.
I wanted to just start by
best.
asking you about the census. You know, this is something that's so
You
vital.
want to know why I don't diss every Democrat in Congress? Do you want to know why I refuse to do that? And I refuse to say that all politicians are in it for the wrong reasons, blah, 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 because of this guy. Because of this guy and about 200 of his colleagues that are, in fact, incredibly devoted to the service to this country. Okay? So I'm going to tell you right now, cut the bullshit of, all politicians are bad. Wee. Yeah, okay, get money out of politics. How about that? Start there. Like, I don't even want to have that conversation with you if you're not willing to push first for money out of politics. That's number one. Number two, don't discount people like Andy Kim. Don't discount people who are actually standing and working and trying to understand the issues and represent them when it matters most in moments like this, where we can at least see what's happening somewhat behind the curtain, if not really. You know what I mean? So this is where I get on my soapbox. Like, God damn it. Like, let's cut the crap. There are good people in Congress and they should be uplifted.
Important to our country, explicitly stated within the Constitution as a function of our government here. The Census Bureau is currently testing the use of postal workers to conduct the census. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Is that something you approved?
It is, yes, absolutely.
And so I guess I
you
wanted
didn't
to
have any
ask you,
time.
because this was looked into, this was examined during the first Trump administration. What was the outcome of that pilot during the first Trump administration?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with any pilot that was done in the first administration.
He's all in support. Oh my God. I don't even know. Like, I get it that he can't be fired or whatever, you know, like nobody's going to care. But at the same time, I would so fire this guy. Like, I would so fire this guy. He is not able to answer the simplest of questions with any kind of eloquence whatsoever. And he just literally, oh my God, I can't.
Obviously wasn't here, so I'd hate to.
He's all in favor of this, but he wasn't here when they tried it. And he didn't bother to look at he didn't do any of the homework of figuring out, you know, how the pilot worked, but he's totally willing and all in to make the postal workers do the census.
Speak to that. What I can tell you is that we are in the middle of the pilots right now. There's two, they're small pilots, but in one, we actually have, we tell our mail carriers, you can become an enumerator. So you have your current job, you can also be an enumerator. And in the other pilot, we're using our carriers to get follow-up information from addresses. They're both actually going fairly well. Look, the discussion, the only discussion I've ever had about this is how do we do it more efficiently and less costly for the American public? We'll see if we can do that through the pilots, but you would think that it would make sense that we could do it more efficiently and cheaper because we're already going to every house
I'm
every
all
day.
for efficiency and for saving money, but again, this is a function of our government that's laid out in the Constitution. And I'll be honest with you, it concerns me that you were not aware of a pilot program that tried to do exactly this in the first Trump administration because, you know, look, I'm just going through the Census government report right now, and there's a recommendation section here, and it says, all pilot activities were discontinued based on the irreconcilable conflicts of the requirements of 13 USC and 18 and 39 USC. So I guess I just want to ask you.
You could tell me what those are because I don't know what those
but
are.
this is what, this is not like, you don't come to us for the cheat codes here. Like, this is something that you should be aware of as you are approving
I am
this.
absolutely aware of it. Our
Okay,
legal
so tell me
department-
what.
Our legal department is absolutely aware of it.
So tell me then what.
No one has said anything about us violating any particular statute. I know that there
Can
was
you
some
tell me what the
discussion-
difference is between Title 39 and Title 13 then?
I'm not a lawyer. No, I could not. Well, I used to be a lawyer.
Well, I'm not a lawyer either, but I know the difference. And so what I'll just tell you is that what we have is Title 39 allows the Postal Service to share information with law enforcement and others during certain circumstances. In contrast, Title 13 explicitly forbids sharing of individuals' census data for any purpose. The reason I raise this is that the pilots that you're trying to do down in Huntsville and Spartanburg, we've gone through this several years ago. And as mentioned, they were discontinued based off of irreconcilable conflicts between these two. So the question is, if you're trying to move forward with this, what's different? Are you seeking legislative fixes? Are there other things you're doing that would try to show this?
Yeah, no, I am absolutely glad to get our staff together with your staff.
Oh
I
my
know
God.
that those were issues. I know that the oath was an issue. And I know that our legal department and the Department of Commerce's and the Census Bureau's legal departments looked at those issues, resolved those issues. I cannot tell you the fundamental underpinnings of the legal statutes that do that.
You can't even tell us what they were. You can't even tell us what the issues were, sir. Not only can you not tell us the underpinning, you don't even know what they were. You don't know. You have no clue as to what happened in the very pilot that you're being asked about.
But absolutely glad to have anyone on your staff or yourself.
Look, I'll follow with your team. I'm the ranking member on the subcommittee that oversees the census, which is why we've been so focused on this.
Sure.
If okay with you, I'd like to make sure that we have congressional oversight to be able to do a visit to these pilot programs and be able to learn more. Is that something you can agree to?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, look, the other thing I'll just say here, and I just want to raise this, is that, we've been having some issues down at the Trenton processing facility. There was an OSHA inspection, some
He doesn't go to
continued
meetings,
things that
Kathy.
haven't been remedied, and I've been hearing from some of my constituents there.
He's on his boat.
I just wanted to ask, would you be able to ensure that you'll work with me to make sure that anything that is continued to be outstanding in terms of the concerns that were raised are ones that we can remedy?
Yes,
Wow.
thank you for bringing that, to my attention. Look, safety is
Look.
our number one priority.
Look.
If there's some issues there, I won't send you to my staff to follow up on that. Call me, and I'll make sure we follow up.
Okay, well, I'll make sure we get each other's numbers. We'll follow back up. Okay?
right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll
Yep.
go back.
Senator Scott.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, so
He's amazing.
I don't understand how a business loses money. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So if you couldn't get any more money out of the government, all right, and we didn't let you borrow more money, because if you borrow more money, ultimately, you know what that's going to happen. The postal office, I've been up here 7 years, it never makes money. So
You've been
they'll come
disbarred.
ask for a bailout, right? So we're not fixing anything. There's no real solution here. So if you
So
could,
let's
if
close
there
it
were
down.
no limitations on what you could do, what would you do?
So you may have seen the press reports. We actually brought in the preeminent restructuring firm in the world to look and tell us exactly that. Let's assume
that?
that we aren't going to get any help. What are we going to do? They're in the process of putting that report together. I would tell you that there is absolutely no doubt that would lead to a streamed down postal service. It would lead to delays in service. I mean, there's look, as the chairman very appropriately pointed out, 80% of our costs are labor costs. There's only one way you can become profitable here, and that's address the labor costs. And so we would have to go in and look at how we can change days of service, reduce the level of services, and we would have to shut down a massive number of post offices.
Yep.
So, all right, so
Right.
let's I looked on a report I've got that if you look at the number of pieces on marketing mail versus the revenue, it's dramatically less per piece than first class. So why is that? First off, I'm sure we all love all the marketing mail we get because I have to get an extra recycling bin for it.
My old business, we loved that, by the way. Please recycle
that's
that.
probably good for your business. That's funny. You just
Isn't
recycle
it funny how we all made money off of people?
But, it is the
That's good.
antiquated pricing structure that is imposed upon us by the PRC. And so, to the chairman's
who's the
point.
PRC? Why do
the
we-
Postal Regulatory Commission.
But so who's that?
They were set up when the Postal Service was split so that they could oversee this quote-unquote monopoly. Now, in 1971, arguably, we were a monopoly. There is zero chance that we are a monopoly at this point in time. And so I completely agree with the chairman. It seems to me that we have a regulatory body that is regulating in a past
Yeah,
era.
make junk mail more expensive.
Why wouldn't they want you to make money?
Well, they've got what I've understood from them, and I won't profess to speak for them. They say they have to balance a number of things. But
Marketing mail.
Right. So here's the balance that they did last. They told us we can only raise prices once a year. And they acknowledged that could be $700 million to the Postal Service. That could cost us $700 million. In their opinion, they said, but that doesn't make a big dent in their total loss. So we're going to do it. Who does that benefit? It benefits the marketing mailers, right? That's $700 million that got transferred from us directly to our customers.
No, it got transferred to the taxpayers of the country.
Yeah.
That's who it got transferred to.
Yeah.
The taxpayers paid for it,
Yeah.
right? Because we're going to have to cover your losses.
That's absolutely correct. And so I think your point is absolutely correct. A normal business takes price and volume and finds the best mix.
Why are they in existence? What do you need them?
because we don't need them, but they are in existence, ostensibly, again, I won't speak for them, but ostensibly because we are a monopoly and they have to regulate the monopoly.
How many marketing contracts have you lost to FedEx and UPS?
You mean?
For marketing mail?
Oh, no, marketing mail, we are the only ones that deliver marketing mail. We do have a monopoly on the mailbox.
But you can't charge whatever price.
No,
And you have to charge less than first class.
absolutely.
So a letter I want to send to my grandkid, okay, costs me more than the
You don't
marketing
mail
stuff I
it
don't
as
want to
often
read.
as they do with.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And Senator,
Okay, I
you
can't
would
do
not,
this. I'm sorry. You guys are dumb. Oh, not holding out.
Not going to be a lot of votes to allow that to happen. And so we prevent them from letting it happen.
Yay,
Hiring
oh,
freeze also says
sandwich,
1.5
yummy.
billion.
I'm
There's all kinds of
hungry.
things that can be done that immediately could wipe out your 9 billion, but you probably would have to go to less days of delivery would be thing. The price helps, but that's 1.6 billion of 9 billion or 9.5 billion. So.
I'd like to look at their P&L.
we've looked a little bit at that too.
Senator Slotkin.
Thank you.
Isn't it, Dan? It's insulting.
Thank you for being here. I think you've heard in a bipartisan way the importance of the Postal Service, particularly to rural Americans. It's a lifeline. And I just, hearing you talk about how there's going to need to be reductions in service because you don't have the cash. When most Americans have just watched us launch a war that we think is going to cost at least $80 billion. You can imagine how that hits to someone who says, how do we not have the ability to fund my rural postal delivery so I can get my medication or vital information in my post box, but we somehow have money for everything else. So I encourage you to advocate and push back where you can. And we want you to succeed. We want the post office to succeed. But I want to follow up on some of the lines of questioning that we had on this side of the aisle, particularly from Senator Peters,
I think
on
there's two different
the role of the
definitions
U.S.
of
Post
success
Office in
voting about.
our elections. Because I can't think of something that's more important than our democracy and making sure we have free and fair elections. But the U.S. Postal Service is now part of this bigger story of this president desperate to federalize our elections. He has tried every which way to say that if he and his party don't win in these November elections, they were rigged. He said it in the State of the Union. And now we have this new rule that you've put out saying that states have to turn over their voting rolls, and you, the U.S. Postal Service, will decide, okay, who's approved to send their ballot through the mail. It's just another backdoor way of trying to influence this election. And to show the level of obsession that this president has, he's literally left the leader, Mr. Thune, Senator Thune, on the stage right now and canceled the signing of a housing bill like 8 minutes ago until we pass the SAVE Act, this obsession he has, which will disenfranchise huge number of voters. So he's obsessed with this, and he's pulled in the U.S. Postal Service. Have you ever voted by mail?
I have not.
Do you believe that a piece of mail that's put in a mailbox should be sent no matter what? Do you believe that is your obligation?
We have a lot of different rules. I mean, if you want a yes or no answer, I'd say no. I mean, obviously, if it's dangerous, if it doesn't
I'm not
meet
talking about an
mailability
inflammatory thing. A letter that is not a threat. Just a piece of mail that is not a weapon, it's not a threat. It's a ballot. Do you believe right now it is your obligation to send that ballot to its intended recipient?
Yeah, we send every piece of mail that we send in accordance with our regulations and the mail manual.
But the state of Michigan's about to start mail-in voting, end of June for our primary. If a 60-year-old woman in Grayling, Michigan puts that ballot after June 25th into one of the U.S. Postal Service's mailboxes, as she's done for many elections, will you direct the Postal Service to deliver that ballot?
I don't have to direct the Postal Service to do that because we do that every day.
Oh,
That is
okay.
exactly what
So
we
then
do.
why are you demanding, actually, that for Michigan's voter rolls and other states to be presented to you? The president has sued us, okay? We're in court right now. He sued us and a bunch of other states for our voting rolls. So he's obsessed with this. The Constitution gives the right to states to execute elections. So you are a pawn in this, unfortunately. I don't think you're a bad person from what I know of you. You run a big company, but you are part of a much bigger story that's playing out literally on a stage right now. And so if you don't get Michigan's voter rolls for the general election in November, will you move those ballots in your mailboxes?
Remember, right now, we only have a proposed rule, so there are no.
First of all, this is very important. Max brings up a very important point. Do I like her twin set, her suit? I can get behind a vintage Chanel. I'm not really down with the just knockoffs of the Chanel because frankly, I think that's lazy. But that's my opinion. And I also would not wear a cream suit. I just don't think cream, all over cream is great. And frankly, I'm always going to either sit in something or drop coffee on my lap. So no, I'm not really into it. I'm not really into it. But thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
New rules.
But have you proposed it?
We will move those.
You've proposed it.
We did.
Okay, so
we will
that's
move
what you
those
wanna do.
ballots in accordance with whatever rule
Okay.
is in
All
effect
right.
at that point in time.
So, but you proposed it. It's your rule,
Yeah.
right?
We did, yes.
Okay. So you want it to pass.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, as I said before, this is not something that's new. This is something.
Oh, shut the fuck up. It is new. Okay, bitch? It's new. Because as part of this Kit 10, wait, what is this thing he's talking about? Kit mail-in ballots. Kit 10? What has he called it? Kit something? Kit, what did he call it? Kit 10? What the fuck is it called? Shit. Oh, Kit 600. Okay, Kit 600. Do they have to give their voter rolls as part of Kit 600? That's what I want to know. I mean, are they doing that now with the states that use the hold on. Propose new ballot rules. So this is a new rule. The rule is what we're upset about, you stupid ass.
For many years. And
Oh
again,
my God.
it's a process that is followed by a lot of states already. States like California and Oregon, states like
I think
Florida.
you're conflating,
You are
I think, some of the
conflating.
things. I have no problem with a barcode being put on a
Yeah,
piece
that's
of
not
mail
the
and following it
fucking
like that.
point,
But
sir.
I just think it's important to understand, especially since you are a lawyer, not this kind of lawyer, but you are a lawyer, that you are being used as part of a much bigger story that this president is trying to play out, where he does not believe elections that he loses are valid elections. He's willing to do just about anything to show that he's actually a big winner, no matter what he does. And I just ask you, as a professional, as someone who's done serious things in your life, please push back on being a pawn in this authoritarian playbook.
That's really
the Postal
sweet
Service
you
is
say
one
that,
of the most
Smokin.
important institutions in our country. Don't taint it with the obsession of this one man. Please push
That
back.
taint.
Yield back.
Senator Ernst.
Don't taint because of that taint.
Thank you, Postmaster General,
boxing
for
gloves
being
are
here
perfect.
today. We've talked a little bit about
Oh,
the
I
rural
can't stand
delivery. I
you.
think
Shut up. Shut up, Joni, you fucking. Everybody dies. Remember Joni? Everybody dies. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Everybody dies. I can't. It's funny. Joni, you're such an idiot.
It's
How
really
did
the
you
amazing
survive
thing
that?
about this
I don't
organization. When you
even
think of
know.
110 billion pieces, It doesn't take a
going on with my
lot
hair?
to create a lot of revenue.
Exactly. I am well over my time. Thank you for indulging.
Yeah,
Senator
you are
Garnier.
well
Thank
over your time, stupid.
Thank you, Mr. Steiner. In San Luis, Arizona, the Postal Service does not provide home or mail delivery.
Actually,
that means that
sometimes I like
residents are
him and
forced to
sometimes I
retrieve mail
don't.
from a P.O. box in the local
Sorry.
post office. 40 years ago, San Luis was 2,000 people. It is now 35,000 people. It's on the border of the Arizona-Mexico border. As a result, San Luis's sole post office is heavily congested and running out of space and capacity. And also because of backups at the border, when people are crossing the border in the morning or in the evening trying to go back, especially our day laborers, that whole street basically becomes a wall. It's nearly impossible for our residents in San Luis to either go east or west along that. So I've heard
We're
this
all gonna die
multiple
anyway.
times, and it's affecting people who can have multiple jobs. Our disabled veterans are having tough times getting to pick up their checks, and it's caused a lot of heartache.
joke.
We've been asking the post office for, almost generations now to ask this. Do you think that the post office can find the time, the money, and the focus to actually add more home delivery in this booming town of 35,000?
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, that is the fundamental question of why we're here today, right? I said it before, to the chairman's point. How do you reduce costs, right? A long time ago, remember, 170 million points of delivery every year, growing by 1 million every year. At the same time that volumes of mail are decreasing by 5 to 8% compounded. That is a recipe for disaster. The math does not work there.
Except the math is not evenly distributed. It's not evenly distributed.
Yeah,
because there are areas of the country.
I'm more than happy.
Because there are areas of the country that are growing versus not growing. So, like, if you look at your western states, right, Texas, Nevada,
To have
Arizona.
that conversation with you. We need to realize, like I said in my comments, we can do whatever you want. We'll do whatever you want. Who's going to pay for it, right? And those are the decisions that we have to make every day. Absolutely glad to personally take a look at the situation that you're talking about individually.
I'd actually invite you to come down.
I have to look at it collectively. I can't look at it as 30,000 stops. I've got to look at it as 170 million stops.
Right, but again, because it's not evenly distributed, where growth versus not growth, I think actually being able to see and zero in, especially with the amount of data you have, you could actually find some solutions here. And in terms of money,
love to talk with you all to see what.
And in terms of money, that rings very hollow to these communities. When they see ballrooms, they see jets, they see stupid wars getting started, and all this money being spent, and all they're asking is for what everyone else gets. By the way, the reason this hurts them is because they see all the other communities around them, and they all get home delivery, right? And they all get home delivery of things that they need now. And now, especially what we're seeing, like the increase in home deliveries of prescription drugs, for example, we're literally affecting people's health. People are missing the opportunity to get their timely prescriptions. This is a rural town. It's tough for them to get a lot of stuff. Mail is one of the few things that actually can be consistent. But over time, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So I encourage you, I know you have this whole world you got to look at. I get it. Come down to San Luis, Arizona. Come down at 4 p.m. and see what these residents have been dealing with for almost 40 years. And I guarantee you there could be a solution to that. And maybe it's maybe it's trying to do something on the other side of the street. But anything at this point would be best, because like these families are really being affected and starting to affect business, everything else like that, and of that nature.
Glad to have that conversation.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Postmaster General, for being here. If maybe offer a suggestion, if you'd be willing to work with our office and our team, let's put together the ideas that you have. I'm intrigued by your incredible success in the business.
Bernie's intrigued. Bernie wants his money. I want you to donate to my campaign. Yeah, sorry, just donate to my campaign. Yeah, Bernie. I'm married. Oh my God, it's Josh Cotton. It's Josh Cotton and Tom Hawley. Or Tom Hawley. I don't know. It's Josh Cotton or Tom Hawley. I'm not sure which one it is. I don't want to listen to him. He's mad about fake dump mail. Here we go. Oh, and postmasters. Oh, here we go. Let's talk. Oh, okay. We'll let him. We'll hear Josh Cotton about
Oh, no. Don't turn it around. You are in charge in an
here we
audit
go.
that he
He's
had done.
mad.
Ever. Take a look at another picture.
Oh, dear.
Your targets for on-time delivery in my state, which were not good to begin with, are just in the 90s, meaning that you could miss it 10% of the time and give yourself an A grade. But start looking there in 2024, 2025, you're hitting your on-time delivery targets 76% of the time, maybe. That means fully a quarter of the time, best case scenario, people's mail in my state is not being delivered to them on time. Is this acceptable?
It's absolutely not acceptable.
Well, why is it not changing?
It is changing. If you actually look at the numbers, you'll see the numbers have been increasing.
Where's your data?
It is not changing. That's this year. That is April of this year. Just last year, the Inspector General, when I asked him to do an audit of the St. Louis Distribution Center, the Inspector General told me it was the worst case of lack of on-time delivery, the worst case of distribution problems he had ever seen, ever, in an audit that he had done. Ever. What's been changed since then?
If you look at the service scores, I would commend you to go online. We publish our service scores weekly.
I don't want to go online. I want you to come here with answers because you're the Postmaster General of the United States. I don't want to have you come here and be told you don't know what's going on in my home state. When I have written to you, when I have called you, when my residents have called you and asked you, when they're paying their taxes and they're paying these Postal Service marks and increases, I don't want to be told, go online. I want answers. And the other thing I want to know is, why are you getting bonuses and members of your staff getting bonuses for this kind of performance? Let's take a look. Just look at the numbers. The Postmaster Generals of this country in the last 10 years have gotten bonuses over $2 million.
Okay. I don't think
you got a bonus
for that.
Last year, $305,781. Why? Why are you getting bonuses when my constituents can't get the mail?
Senator, I don't control bonuses. Our board of governors.
Will you pledge not to take them?
Pardon me?
Will you pledge not to take them?
Will you pledge to reward our people?
Oh, no. Don't turn it around. You are in charge of the Postal Service, and we have given you everything you've asked for. Just 3 years ago, this Congress allotted tens of billions of dollars to the Postal Service. I'm glad you think it's funny, Postmaster General. You think that this situation is funny. Let the record reflect the Postmaster General is laughing as he gets asked why he's taking bonuses while there's piles of undelivered mail in my state. It's a disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace.
Let the record reflect that I was laughing when you said we've been given everything we've asked for.
You have been given an opportunity to deliver the mail, and you're here laughing about it. You are here telling me you don't know, you're unprepared, and let the record reflect you won't pledge not to take bonuses. So you're going to keep on taking them? Is that what you're telling me? Yes or no? Will you refuse bonuses so long as the mail goes undelivered?
Fabricated.
Any piece of mail?
Yes or no? Will you refuse bonuses until the mail gets delivered? Yes or no?
What mail?
Oh, this is extraordinary. In other words,
you don't know.
You want the money. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he needs a...
Unbelievable. I am absolutely astounded at this today, General. Well, you should be. And frankly, if things don't get better, you ought to resign because you're not doing the job. You're leaving your good postal workers out there. You're hanging them out to dry. They don't make near what you do. They're working their butts off. They're getting blamed, and you're getting the bonus. We got a big problem.
Time has expired.
And based on what I've seen today, you're part of it.
Wow. He must be. Josh Hawley being primary. I don't think I've seen Josh Hawley that upset about anything, like ever. Like anything. He must have gotten a whipping. Like maybe his mom said, "You got to tell that mail guy I haven't gotten my Hustler magazines in about 2 weeks." He wrote a book about MACA masculinity. A real pro. Oh, you know what though? I raised my voice. I'm not a real pro though. You're right.
I have a follow-up question on this. The piles of mail that were depicted in the picture, I guess near St. Louis. Can you look at that mail and find out the day it was supposed to be delivered and who the delivery person was on that day?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
and I would expect, you know, I do not know every detail of every piece of mail that we have, but I would expect that there has been action.
But my follow-up question is I think the senator and the committee deserves to know. So I would think within a week you should be able to get back to us with a report because it would take me about 30 minutes to look at that mail and the address and the timestamp and to say Joe Smith was delivering the mail that day and Joe Smith dumped it. And really, Joe Smith should be indicted by now because I'm guessing that's felony to.
I mean, that
I
was
would
pretty
totally agree
glorious.
with you.
Yeah, so.
Hard with these
but
guys.
Will you get back to us within a week
Yes,
with some kind of
absolutely.
update on that?
I think, Senator, I think we can get back to you within an hour. My guess is that our folks know exactly what's going on there.
All right. And if it doesn't involve an indictment, we're going to want to know
Trust her.
why.
Trust me,
and
bro.
why someone,
Trust
if
me,
that
bro.
person still works for the post office,
Trust me,
that's
bro.
a problem.
I would like to know that too, if that's the case.
But see, we.
Wow, he just thinks this is a fucking walk in the park. This guy is not afraid of anything. This guy isn't afraid of anything. He's like, I'm not going to lose my job. Nobody's going to fire me. Now, that may or may not be true because even a broken clock works 2 times a day. And, you know, sometimes people who are just too problematic get fired. And this guy is getting a little problematic. Like, he's not looking good for the voters. You know what I mean? And there's one thing Trump doesn't like. He doesn't like people that do things that make him look like he's, you know, not in touch with the voters. I mean, he doesn't really care about that, but you know what I mean when he looks at other people. So I could see this guy stepping on his dick enough to get fired. But right now, he's like, I'm untouchable. I used to run waste management.
You can do on that.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that you've hired a preeminent restructuring firm, and they've
How much does
completed
that
a
cost?
report for you? Or it's
Pardon
not?
me?
You said you had hired a preeminent restructuring firm to look at the post office. Has that report been given to you?
No, they're in the process of putting that together.
When will that be completed?
I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm certain.
Okay. There's another thing I know because I've worked with McKinsey. I've worked with Deloitte when I was in organizations and we were working on a project. And guess what, folks? You don't even have the first meeting until you figure out the calendar. Okay? So I'm going to tell you right now, this man is lying. Because if there was a project or was an analysis, there would be an end date. And he would say something like, well, the target for that report is July something or August or whatever, right? That's what I would say as a CEO. I would say, well, we are targeted to have that information in the 3rd quarter. You know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. Same day that the 5-year preview. I guess I'm just really harping on this because it's such a glaring example of incompetence at a level of leadership that should never have this level of incompetence.
That there's
Demand
a lot of
much
findings
more
in
than
draft
this.
form.
Like, this isn't
But
even
I'm
a
not- I
CEO
haven't
level
asked them what the
performance.
final
Will that report be sent to us?
I'm glad to do it.
I would send
What?
it to the committee. You can start with the chair and the ranking member,
hell?
and then others who want it as well. Because that's exactly what we need is someone,
Wow.
somebody who restructures a business. That's what you do if you're at Waste Management.
did he
losing
hire? I
Money,
wanna know.
but
Who did he
you would
hire?
react. And I really think ultimately it's part of the answer, but I think it's also when we have these hearings, there still is too much of, oh, well, Congress hasn't let me do all these things, so I can't. There is truth to that, and Congress should. But there's also truth to the fact that the hiring freeze can save $3 billion a year. You say it's in place, let's make sure, and we'd like the information to know that it is I understand if the vice president of the post office resigned, you replace them, but most all of the other jobs through attrition. We also should have a concerted strategy. The only way to save money, the government is not efficient. They're not bad people, but you don't have a profit motive and you have too many restrictions. So you will never, not you, but the post office will never be efficient. They will never be good at anything. The only way to make them more efficient is to outsource to companies that have to make a profit. And so you have to look at this and you have to aggressively do it. You have to aggressively do the opposite of what DeJoy was doing. And so you have to aggressively do the things you're allowed to do. So hiring freeze and outsourcing are the 2 simple things you can do. Anything you can stop that he put in place that isn't already going, I don't think there's the hope that you're going to, somehow outcompete Amazon or UPS or something. And so you really shouldn't be trying to get more into their business. You should be trying to have less business, period. And you should have have less of the government doing any business that you're involved with, because and I think you'd still lose money. If you outsourced 100%, you'd still lose money. And I'm more than interested in, the idea of combining the PRC. It would take legislation to do that. But in the meantime, everything within your power to bug the PRC, as well as talking to us as well to get the permission to raise the rates. Nobody likes higher rates, but we also don't like a $9 billion.
Okay. I need to talk about this for a minute. Hold on. I know that I'm going to be sharing, this is the AI results. I really apologize, but I wanted to get down to the bottom line as fast as possible. And I said, so does Alvarez and Marsal connected to the Trump administration? And this is the consulting firm that he's talking about. This is the consulting firm that he's talking about that have come in and to do the restructuring evaluation, right? And this is how Alvarez and Marsal is related to the Trump administration, the firm that they chose, which I'd love to know if this was a competitive bid contract. It should have been, but that's a good question. I don't know if anyone's asked that question, but apparently not. So several documented connections of the Trump administration primarily provided through consulting services. But look, the U.S. fund overseeing a major critical minerals deal appointed A&M to act as the investment advisor to identify and size up potential project opportunities. So they're involved in the critical minerals shit. The Mar-a-Lago trio, Mark Sherman, a managing director at A&M, was part of an unofficial 3-person advisory committee appointed by DUMP. This group, which operated outside the Federal Advisory Committee Act, attempted to directly influence policy and overhauls of the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's who's running the firm that is being paid to consult the USPS. Former DUMP administration officials have transitioned to the firm, such as Dr. David Shulkin, the former Secretary of Veterans Affairs, who later took on a role at A&M. A&M is among the major consulting firms that General Services Administration asked to justify its federal consulting contracts during administration-wide reviews to determine which tasks can be brought in-house by federal employees. And let's think about this. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is Steven Feinberg. Is he related to A&M? How is he related to A&M? Cerberus Capital Management. I don't know where A&M is in this one, but let me look at that. But anyway, all to say, I would question that contract. I would have questions about that contract. PMG is laughing because their plan is working. Absolutely nailed it, Heather. Exactly. Heather, 110,000%. Dan's like, I'll bet my house that thing was no bid. Yeah, this is why he's laughing at them, because this is all just so stupid. I didn't either, which makes me suspect. He must just have gotten yelled. I'm telling you, it's his mom and her Hustler magazine delivery. It hasn't come, and she's really upset about it. I'm just saying.
Loss every year. So all these things have to be done. If we truly were saving, I think you said $2 billion on transportation and $3 billion on hiring, that would be $5 billion. That would mean that the deficit this coming year would be about 4 instead of 9.
And then remember, if we are allowed to invest our FERS assets just in a very conservative manner, and if the CSRS allocation gets done the way it should be done, that everybody agrees it should be done, that eliminates about 60% of the loss right there.
But my guess is it won't be $4 billion next year. What's the projection for when do you total up your deficit for the year? Is it with our fiscal calendar September 30th or when?
Excuse me, but if you're investing your FERS, which is your federal employee retirement system, if he's saying that he wants to invest that in the market, is what he's saying, folks, is that he wants to take the investment account, the retirement account balance, and be able to manage that money more aggressively. He's literally, He's literally trying to manage the retirement funds of the postal workers more aggressively to not only get more returns, but then somehow is he going to take those returns? Like, how is that going to improve his bottom line? I don't get it. Are you skimming off the top? What the fuck is that all about? Running a pension account shouldn't be a for-profit venture. There's just no way. Yikes. There's so much in this hearing that is like, what? Huh? What?
Yes, and again, we look at it controllable, non-controllable.
Right. So, but I know, but there's a number. So last year it was what, 9.5 billion?
If the controllable was closer to 3.
The deficit. We just got to go with the deficit
What's the
for the year.
controllable?
9.5 billion. We can't paper it over or make it something it's not. So 9.5 billion. What's your projection for it in the current year we're in?
Well, again, because of the actuarial of the accounting stuff, I don't pay attention to the non-controllable loss. We pay attention to the controllable loss. We're thinking that's around 2.8 billion.
Excuse me, what?
What's the deficit going to be, though? What are you going to
What's the
lose this
total,
year? Is it going to still be around 9?
Again, you have to look at retirement actuarial
know, but is it still-
numbers.
is it still
but
gonna-
it'll be in that $9 to $10 billion number.
So you can see how just sort of hearing these numbers, they don't really add up. If you save $2 billion.
Okay, listen. The fact that this guy cannot speak with greater specificity about his budget for this fiscal year is I can't even fathom what's happening right now. Like, how did this guy ever become a CEO of anything? I mean, my mind is absolutely blown by this hearing.
On transportation, and it was 9.5 last year, then you'd be at 7.5.
Well, you got to cover inflation, right? You've got inflation.
I know,
in the
but
cost
the
base.
thing is the numbers aren't adding up.
The
So
numbers aren't
I agree
adding
you're
up.
trying to do some savings, but if you had 2 plus 3, that's 5. Minus 9.5, you'd be at 4.5. The numbers aren't adding up. So the deficit's going to be just as bad.
Oh, they had a nice event,
next year as it
Jane.
was
They
the
had a
last
nice
year,
event.
and
Yeah,
it's
sell some
getting worse.
crawdads, but
and
yeah.
so all of these things,
They did have
it
a
is
nice
crunch
event after
time,
that.
but you really have to show us that you're doing everything possible,
unbelievable.
and you have to
Unbelievable,
reverse
really.
what DeJoy did.
Shocking.
DeJoy messed it up and made it worse. He broke it. It was already broken, and he re-broke it and scrambled it into 1,000 pieces. You've got to do the opposite of everything he was doing. Everything he was doing was making the post office lose more money. And you are constrained.
Is that by
But
design?
outsourcing to a company that
Gosh,
has
was
to
that by design, Rand, so that it should be privatized? It would be in such default that it would have to be privatized. Is that what got us to this point? Rand Paul, do you think it was by design that Dump appointed DeJoy and that's why we got into this spot? Is that what you think? Is that what you think, Rand? Do you not think this was actually the design that you participated in all those years back when DeJoy was actually appointed and confirmed? Do you remember that? I do. And so it's really interesting to me that now all of a sudden you're clutching your pearls so tightly. But you're the one who helped build it. So which one is it? Are you upset that DeJoy did what he did, or were you complicit in actually supporting DeJoy all the way along the line? Is that what it was?
to make a profit is one way to
Demand
save
better,
money
people.
and not hiring anybody and trying to get the employees to do the work. And then ultimately, really, the country needs to address the situation. You can fix your bottom line by going to 4 days delivery. And I think at first people would be upset by that. Some people might be. Some people would be happy that they get less junk mail, frankly. And you could.
The reason there's more than there's 6 day delivery is because people need things at certain times. And if you only had 4 days to deliver the same volume of mail, don't you think that would actually be worse? No, maybe what you should do is control the types of mail that are increasing your volume. It sounds to me like there's a huge opportunity with bulk mail. It sounds to me like bulk marketing mail is a huge opportunity But no, we don't want to charge. And I'm sure, and I understand small businesses, we would need to think about that. But I also think there's plenty of ways to approach that problem so that you structure a fee schedule that actually makes sense and perhaps maybe even limits the amount of marketing mail that can be sent out, because maybe that could actually help in terms of volume, routes, staffing, all the things. Maybe those things could help. Yeah, she just takes on people take on a lot. I have thoughts about that movie. I have more problems. My problem with that movie was only the filmmaking, because I don't think the filmmakers did a great job of telling the overall story. And it's almost like the folks like Sean and her club up in Hattiesburg was like a second story that didn't get enough attention. You know what I mean? So that's where I was like, I just don't think the storytelling was very succinct, but I think the stories of the women who are doing the pride in Mississippi, in Alabama, or no, Mississippi. Yeah, Mississippi. Yeah, and she was, yeah, but that's normal human behavior to be like overconsumed and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I think the filmmakers didn't do the best job for me of kind of telling the story and representing everybody. And that just it wasn't clear to me what the connection between the two groups was. And it's like, and I know there was one. Anyway, it just was kind of like I kind of scratched my head after that movie. Yeah, but she's, I don't know. I've met a lot of people like Lynn. It is what it is. They need someone to help steer that beautiful energy and passion into kind of process. She should be the idea person and not necessarily the logistics person. But all that being said, what we watched last night, in Discord, is we watched Southern Pride, which is a documentary from 2017 about a bar in Biloxi, Mississippi, that is a lesbian bar, open 24 hours, huge benefit to the community. And they were struggling after Trump's election, even more so with, can we do a pride march here in Biloxi, one of the first of its kind, and all that kind of stuff. And just went through following these women who own the bar. And then there was a side story about Black Pride up in Hattiesville, Mississippi, and the woman who runs that club and was trying to create a Black Pride event, which was, kind of unapologetic and kind of really focused on building cohesiveness within the Black community in Hattiesburg and surrounding areas, which I thought made a lot of sense. And she's like, I don't want to push out white people, but I need to connect with the Black community. I need there to be I need there to be more relationship with the Black community, before I, whatever. But she did both. She created space for Black Pride and did a beautiful job, it looked like to me. And then also supported the white lesbian bar down in Biloxi with coming to their event and, sharing information. So anyway, I just needed more. I think I needed more about the Hattiesville Black Pride event. I don't know. There's another movie there. But anyway, so for me, it was more a storytelling issue that got in the way of that movie being like amazing. But it was beautiful movie, beautiful people. And it was called Southern Pride. And it's available for free on Amazon. Sorry to promote Amazon, but that is one. It's actually free in a lot of places. If you just Google Southern Pride 2017 or something like that, it should come up. Highly recommend seeing it because it's definitely stories that need to be heard. I just wish the storytellers had done a better job of kind of drawing the through line through. But that's more of a filmmaking criticism than it is anything else. But do highly recommend. If you look at my post on my YouTube, the last post that I have, I think, is maybe the second to last, is a list of the movies we've watched so far for Pride Month, which actually I believe all the movies we've watched have been incredible, like things I haven't seen and really incredible storytelling. So I do highly recommend going to my community tab, share those movies, check them out, but also it's also on Tubi. Yeah, so there's definitely free places where Southern Pride can be watched. I do highly recommend it. Don't let any of my comments about filmmaking get in the way, but those are very important stories that I think need even more documentary on them, if you will. So highly recommend. But check out my post because there's about 5 movies on there, and they have all been absolutely excellent, and not things that I've seen before. So anyway, highly recommend. Okay, back to this bullshit.
Still offer 6-day delivery if people are willing to pay the service for
Yeah.
it. You know, have a fee if you want 6-day and 4
Mail for rich people. If you're rich, you can get your mail. But you know, all those poor people, how important is their mail anyways? Listen to this bullshit. It was full of potential. Yeah, no, there's more stories. Yeah, there we go. Brett Favre stealing Mississippi welfare money to build a volleyball court for his daughter. Meanwhile, Jackson can't have clean water. Yeah.
days is free.
I know, I like
or
dissecting
so-called
movie
free.
combos.
And all
I
of a
wanna
sudden
do a
you
book
would
club,
change
you
overnight.
guys.
Now, I know you can't do that, but when we see the report from the preeminent restructuring firm, whoever that is, they should be addressing that because that's how you fix it. You know, and you can call it controllable and uncontrollable, but you have to put, you know, it's important for us to see both.
Yeah.
Controllables on you, uncontrollables on us. And I hope that's
Yeah,
part
but
of
as
their
the head of the
report.
union, you
If
have
it's
to
not,
know
I
what
hope
your
you will ask them to
uncontrollable
make that
is.
part of your report. And I talked so long that I have another member here. Man, I should have quit 5 minutes ago. Nothing personal.
Oh boy, I get to stay longer.
Nothing personal. Senator Blumenthal.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't want to interrupt your eloquent closing by making my entrance before now. Let me ask you first a question which I think applies generally to your performance in the job. Will you commit that when we have specific questions about post offices, about postal service in Connecticut or elsewhere, that you will respond within a timely
Dick, you haven't been in the room,
period?
you know,
Absolutely, and I hope we've been doing that.
And I know you've probably been asked about that in the past. I want to ask you about the recent executive order. I'm sure you've been asked about it so far, and I apologize. I've been in a Judiciary Committee meeting. But the United States Postal Service is not an election administration agency, is it?
No, absolutely not.
And you have no constitutional authority to review ballots or deny postal service to someone mailing in a ballot, do you?
I don't remember my constitutional law class that well, so I would have to defer that to lawyers.
Well, I think you know enough constitutional law to answer this question. The United States Postal Service has no role whatsoever in reviewing balloting or mail-in ballots under current law, does it?
I'm not trying to be obtuse here, but reviewing, I'm not sure what you mean by reviewing.
Well, the President's executive order says that the Postal Service should somehow review voter lists and then refuse to
You tell us.
deliver mail, in
You
effect.
tell us, bitch.
We don't review the voter list. So the voter list for us
Then
is
why
like
do
a
you have it?
manifest, right? And so the state gives us the list of voters that they want ballots to go to, and then they give us the ballots. We match the ballots with the list, and we can tell the state, yes, all the ballots that you say are going to the right people are going, or no, different ballots are going, or maybe you missed some ballots. You know, it's what I said earlier. It really is trying to help the state make sure that the ballots that they send to the voters actually get there and get to those voters. And so it's strictly a manifest for us to make sure that the right ballots are going to the right people.
There's a national address database, all right? And these guys actually have access to all the data they need. They don't need to know who's supposed to get a ballot. It's not their job. And I know he's trying to make it his job because somebody told him he had to, but
And
oh,
do you have authority
man.
to deny delivery of ballots?
Not under the current rules. Our proposed rules
Oh
would
my
say that if we don't
God.
have that manifest, that we can't move the mail.
But
Oh.
you're not going to deliver.
Oh, so it's extortion.
You're not going to refuse to deliver ballots to a voter that the states say is registered.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And
But
you're
they
not
have
going to
to give you
review
their
the
list.
legitimacy of whether someone is properly registered.
No, not our function. We deliver mail.
And what if states say to you, we would just as soon you not do that kind of review?
Do the manifest and the ballots?
Correct.
Under the proposed rule, we would then not deliver that mail.
Well, you would refuse to deliver mail if states would prefer that you not do the matching?
Yeah, if they don't comply with a valid rule, again, as you know, the rules, they're proposed rules, they're not final rules. We have a comment
know.
period that we're looking at,
I'm
but
gonna look
under
that up.
under the
I'm
proposed
going to
rules,
that.
that would be correct.
We got so much.
You agree
Jesus
with the
Christ,
proposed
there's
rule?
Too much in the day.
You know, I think, what I think is that we need to be efficient and accurate in moving ballots. You know, when you look,
It is not your job. It is not your job. It is not your job.
at what we've suggested to states now for years and years and years and years, it is exactly this rule. You know, if you look at it, whether it's Connecticut,
Wait,
Michigan.
how do you know what the Postal Service has been done for years and years and years? You don't even know what pilots have been run at the Postal Service that have to do with the exact work change that you're proposing. I'm sorry, I'm going to call bullshit on this. You don't know fuck all about what the post office has or has not been trying to do. You just prove that to us because you don't even know critical business functions.
Again, California, we have something we call Kit 600, and we have a lot of people that educate your folks in the state as to how to do it. The Kit 600 recommends unique barcodes, unique envelope.
Well,
So
if
this is not
the
something that
state
we
of
haven't been doing
Connecticut says
for
to
years.
you, we want you to deliver mail-in ballots without conducting your purported, supposed, so-called review, which is unconstitutional, you will deliver the mail to Connecticut voters. Is that correct?
I'm confused. Under the proposed rule or under current rules?
Under the Constitution of the United States, you have an obligation. You run the Postal Service. You deliver the mail.
We
You
deliver the
don't
mail.
review ballots or registration. Nobody said you should. The Founding Fathers didn't envision that kind of review. This proposed rule is bogus, and I want your commitment that you will deliver the mail, including mail-in ballots, to Connecticut voters without conducting this bogus
Oh, they better
sham
not
review.
capitulate on
Yeah,
that.
look,
I'll
we'll
tell you
deliver
right now.
every piece of mail that meets our then current regulations.
So that's a no. That's a no. That's a no. Please demand better. Please.
Well,
Please.
your regulations should not include a review or second guessing the state
Right.
on who its electors are, correct?
I think that our proposed rule is, as you know, subject to litigation. We'll see how that all turns out.
Well, I guess we will see, but it will probably be in court. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to thank Mr. Steiner for joining us today to share his testimony with the committee.
All right, that's over. Thank God that's over. Thank God. All right, let's wow, I had all this. I have like literally 20 tabs of stuff I wanted to read to you, but now we've got to figure out what's happening in the real world. Hold on. They do not supersede the this guy is so not for the people, it's not even funny. Okay, let me go ahead and just pull up breaking news. news. It's breaking news. We're going to talk about the Antifa people sentenced to ridiculous. The Antifa. Oh my God, that's going to be turned over in court so fast. If it's not, oh boy, Texas. We better come down and help Texas. Okay, so let's see what's happening. Let me just show you what the scene is. On Capitol Hill, it's Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill. I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. I'm just a bill. This is outside. I don't know where this is. Must be in the Senate or something. Oh, he's visiting the Senate. That's right. Where is it? What's he going to do at the Senate? I don't get it. I don't really get it. I don't understand. Okay, we're going to keep an eye on this. But in the meantime, I would love to. We're awaiting opinion. Oh, that's right. Oh my God. This is like a bad Lifetime movie. Fuck. I mean, everybody told people this was going to be bad. It was going to be bad, and it's bad. God damn it. Okay. Wait, hold on. What am I doing? I know what I'm doing. Let me pull up the New York Times and see if we've got a play-by-play. I'm just a bill up on Capitol Hill. I'm just a bill. I'm just a bill, a capital bill on Capitol Hill. Yeah, yeah. Oh. All right, let's read. This is just the front page of the New York Times. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Remember when I dressed up as a bill for Comic-Con? I made my own. Yeah, what about that Amphifa? Everybody loves the frogs. Nobody loves the dinos. They just love the frogs. Okay. That's okay. I'll just be over here. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's great. I think that's Nadine too, right? If I'm not mistaken, in the frog outfit. I think that's Nadine. Who's an absolutely amazing protester in DC. Really, one of the real ones. Not like some of her. There's some people around her that try and clout chase off of her, but literally Nadine is the real one. Yeah, who all decided to betray me, by the way, and act like I was the drama when in fact Stephen and Taylor were the drama. But hey, go ahead, folks. Go ahead. I hope you're glad with your choices. I hope. Yeah, it's Nadine. Yeah. So fuck all the people around her, but I love her. Yeah, okay, because they all turned their backs on me when Stephen and Taylor betrayed me. So they can go fuck themselves. How about that? All day long. Whatever. Anyway, okay, so this is the New York Times front page. Trump administration live updates. President cancels plans to sign housing bill because, of course. President Trump abruptly canceled his plans to sign a bipartisan housing bill on Wednesday, one that Republicans and Democrats had been eager to promote on the campaign trail as evidence they were working to bring down costs for voters. Mr. Trump said he would not sign it until lawmakers passed a law imposing new restrictions on voter identification and mail-in ballots. Oh, and transgender people, because apparently, why not? That make sense. Okay, whatever. Okay, let's see here. Mr. Trump said in a social media post that he would not sign the bill until Congress passed a law that would impose new restrictions on voter identification and mail-in voting known as the Save America Act. But John Thune, Republican of South Dakota, has said that Republicans did not have the votes required. Though the president said he would not sign the housing bill, it can still become law without his signature. If Congress is in session, legislation can eventually become law 10 days after a bill is enrolled and presented to the president. The president's announcement came at the same moment that the House Republican leadership was championing the legislation during a weekly news conference. House Republicans are going to be the party that governs and delivers, even if we are representing a credibly alleged child rapist, said Tom Emmer of Minnesota, the number 3 House Republican. Even the White House had said it supported the bill, the first major piece of housing legislation to be adopted in decades, and had shared an equally supportive statement about its components on Tuesday night. But on Wednesday, Mr. Dump described the bill as of minor importance compared to lower interest rates and called it Warren-centric, using a racial slur to refer to Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, the top Democrat on the Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. The White House didn't respond. While Mr. Dump focused on Ms. Warren's involvement in the bill, the measure cleared both chambers with overwhelming support this week, a rarity in hyper-partisan Washington. It was the culmination of a long negotiation process involving Ms. Warren and others, including Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina and chair of the Banking Committee, and Representative French Hill, an Arkansas Republican who chairs a similar panel in the House. The measure aims to lower housing costs by making it easier and cheaper to construct new homes, spanning roughly 380 pages. The so-called 21st Century Road to Housing Act reduces a bevy of federal regulations. So get ready. Your house might fall down, but at least you have it. A bevy of federal regulations and seeks to incentivize more development at the local level, adopting an approach that generally won broad support among economists and housing experts. And I think there's something about getting I know that's not a racial slur. Yeah, that is a racial slur. Let's not do that, please. Both parties had celebrated the bill as a way to make housing more affordable. Chuck Schumer, Democrat and Majority Leader, accused Dump on Wednesday morning of running away from one of the very few accomplishments that could actually help the American people. Mr. Dump at times has been dismissive of the housing package, telling the Washington Examiner at one point in April that he was looking at other things very strongly. Then and now, Mr. Dump argued that he believed the most important force to lower housing costs would be a reduction in the interest rates, which could ultimately help push down mortgage bills. Rates on 30-year mortgage have hovered around 6.5%, which has deterred some families from buying new homes and priced many out of the market altogether. Yeah, hello. Reacting to the news, Ms. Warren sharply criticized Mr. Dump in an appearance on CNBC, saying the decision to cancel made clear that he isn't worried about families. This just doesn't make any sense, other than whatever it is that he wants to do is a complete indifference, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Okay, we know that. So that's what's happening in that neck of the woods. Let me just go over some quick things. There we go. Okay, these are things that I had pulled up prior to our show because I wanted to make sure we went over them. Bank of America Global Research now projects 3 separate rate hikes before the end of the year. Well, I'm really curious to watch the employment numbers and things like that. I don't know. I mean, I suppose they're still going to remain pretty strong from a manufacturing standpoint, but the growth in the numbers for jobs was mostly in healthcare and financial services or something like that, and it's pretty much seasonally driven. So even the job numbers were meh, even if they were, in the positive, because it's really dependent on what sector those jobs come in. So it's not growth across the board, that's for sure. Senate votes to block Trump from resuming Iran war. I just wanted to note this that happened yesterday. The Senate passed the first war powers resolution since the start of the conflict, but Republicans argue it doesn't have the force of law. Like you can believe them, I know. Watch the revisions, yep. The Senate voted Tuesday to block President Dump from resuming the war with Iran, setting up a potentially contentious fight with the White House. The Senate passed the resolution 50-48, with 4 Republicans joining Democrats to support the measure. 2 Republican senators, Mitch McConnell and Dave McCormick, missed the vote, allowing the measure to pass. Isn't Mitch in the hospital still? Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Lisa Murkowski, and Rand Paul voted for the resolution. 1 Democrat, Fetterman, voted against it. He's not a Democrat. That's funny. He's not a Democrat. He's a libertarian at best. Dump lashed out at those who supported the measure in a post on Truth Social late Tuesday. These senators have just made my job more difficult, but I'll get it done one way or the other because I always get it done. The vote marks one of the biggest fissures between Trump and the Republican-controlled Senate during his second term. It comes days after the Trump administration reached an agreement with the Iranian government to end the war, which several Republican senators strongly criticized for lifting sanctions on Iranian oil and taking steps towards setting up a $300 billion slush fund to rebuild Iran. Or actually, it's not a $300 billion fund to rebuild Iran. It's a payment to American farmers to send soybeans to Iran. So the money is actually, the money is going to buy American. I mean, this is what he says. First of all, A, I don't think it's going to happen. B, I don't know how that really helps Iran, but whatever. Wow, what's all these people? Okay, let's see. It's a big deal, Tim Kaine of Virginia, who spearheaded Democrats' repeated attempts to rein in the president's use of the military, said of the vote. Kaine argued that the agreement to end the conflict does not make the resolution any less urgent because Trump could decide to strike Iran again at any time. Trump threatened Sunday to hit Iran very hard if Tehran does not restrain its proxies in Lebanon. Both houses have now said this war is illegal without our authorization, Kaine said. The president ought to take the off-ramp we're giving him, he added. The measure which passed the House earlier this month cannot be vetoed, but Democrats and Republicans disagree on whether it has the force of law. The War Power Resolution of 1973, the law that Democrats used to force the vote, states that the president must remove U.S. forces engaged in hostilities abroad without congressional authorization if Congress passes such a resolution. The Trump administration has said that it believes the law is unconstitutional. Well, there you go. Hello. Welcome to rescission. And that the provision allowing Congress to pass a war powers resolution without giving the president veto authority is on even shakier legal ground. So get it that for this one, they say it's unconstitutional, right? And then when it comes to like impoundment, which is in the Constitution, they say, we don't think that applies. You know what I mean? So literally, there are so many examples of this regime deciding what is legal instead of following the law. That should be disturbing to anyone who wants unchecked power. The Supreme Court in 1983 ruled in Immigration and Naturalization v. Chadha that the Congress could not restrain the president's veto power in such a way, though Democrats argue that the courts have never weighed in on whether the president applies to war powers resolutions. I mean, really, that should be. Republicans have countered that the Supreme Court ruling applies. The concurrent resolution process has been held unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court. Risch of Idaho says. The chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee said it on the Senate floor before the vote. So whatever happens with this, it's going to have no effect. The president is going to pay any attention to it. Thank you. What's your job? What's your job, sir? Your job is to actually, I just really wish this would like close. Yeah, okay. He also warned that passage of the resolution would undermine the administration's ongoing negotiations with Tehran. Well, that's not really the problem of the American people, Senator Risch. If this passes, the Iranians are simply going to stand up and walk away from negotiations. Really? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. A White House official made similar points after the resolution passed, arguing that it does not have the force and will have no impact because the war is over. How embarrassing. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity, whatever. Gregory Meeks of New York, who led the measure in the House as the top Democrat in Foreign Affairs Committee, said after the vote that he believed the measure was more than symbolic. Well, I mean, it should be. I mean, otherwise, why are you doing it? I don't think we pay you for symbolism. All right. In other news, in better news, it's November or it's over, kids. That's right. Fucking, like fucking figure it the fuck out. I don't care if you think voting works or not. Just vote. Give it a shot. How about that? Just give it a shot for us. Okay? For me. Just give it a shot. And this is why elections do matter. Mamdani allies sweep House primaries in big night for left-wing Democrats. Mayor Zoran Mamdani backed Alicia Avila Chevalier, who beat Representative Adriano Espilat, and Brad Lander, who ousted Representative Dan Goldman, which is big. Mayor Mamdani showed the strength of his progressive coalition in New York on Tuesday night, using his political muscle to elevate 3 like-minded candidates to victories in Democratic House primary races, including 2 that ousted incumbents. No, listen, I think those candidates probably demonstrated to the voters that they have the values that match and the priorities straight. That's what happened, is that people actually made a choice. That's what happened. And Dan Goldman is also, I think there was an issue with AIPAC and other things that came up during the election. And quite frankly, that's the way it should be. When there's a move for the Democratic Party, they need to go ahead and, divest themselves of supporting a genocidal regime. Sorry, that should be an easy call. But this is where we are. Yeah, call your local Democratic Party to get registered correctly. Yep. Check your registration. Vote.org. Vote.gov, I think even. Maybe. Maybe not vote.gov. I don't know. Call your state. The wins will help shape the party's direction heading into the midterms in November, when Democrats hope to flip control of the House amid voter unease over issues including inflation and the war in Iran. Mr. Mamdani had made a major gamble to parlay his popularity in the city and expand his progressive left-wing movement, and 3 of his allies won closely watched races: Brad Lander, the former city comptroller, and 2 Democratic socialists, Daria Liza Avila Chevalier and Claire Valdez. At Ms. Valdez's watch party, Mr. Mamdani told the gathered crowd that the night's results showed that his victory in the mayor's race was not the end of a political movement, it was the beginning. As Mr. Mamdani spoke, the crowd broke into chants of DSA, DSA, a reference to the Democratic Socialists of America organization. The old politics that got us into this crisis is not the politics that's going to get us out of this crisis, he said. Ms. Avila Chevalier beat Adriano Espaya, I don't know how to say that name, a powerful incumbent, in a stunning upset. You're bugging here. And Mr. Lander ousted Representative Dan Goldman. Ms. Valdez, a state lawmaker, is now poised to succeed Representative Nydia Velasquez, who is retiring. I love Nydia. I've met her a number of times, and she's just a lovely person. Anyway, in another closely watched Democratic contest in Manhattan, Mika Lasher, a state assemblyman, emerged from a field including Jack Schlossberg, the grandson of John F. Kennedy. That's why no one voted for him, is because Schlossberg is really hard to say if you've got a speech impairment. And is poised to succeed Representative Gerald Nadler in a safely Democratic district. Mr. Mamdani did not make an endorsement in the race. In the suburbs north of the city, Democrats picked Kate Conley, a national security expert and combat veteran, to challenge Representative Mike Lawler, one of Republicans' most vulnerable incumbents, in November. New York wasn't the only state with action on Tuesday. In South Carolina, a candidate endorsed by Dump beat another candidate endorsed by Dump in a runoff for governor. In Maryland, Democrats picked a candidate to seek the seat of the retiring Representative Steny Hoyer. Oh, good old Steny. Okay, so that is that. Let's see, because I've got a lot of stuff. Lady, why are you standing right in front of the camera? Why? Here's something. Okay. Oh no, why did I do that? I hit the wrong button. Damn it. I hit the wrong button. This is the order that came through last night from the 9th District, right? The 9th Circuit, I think. And district court, sorry. And this is the ruling on renditioning people to different countries. Yeah. And the fact that you can't do that. You can't just move people from different, like nationally. So I wanted to read, I can't read the whole thing, but I can read the summary. Let me just get to this. Okay, this case arises from recent changes to ICE and EOIR policies governing civil immigration arrests at courthouses and detention in ICE's short-term held facilities, as well as resulting changes in the conditions of confinement at 630 Sansom, which is in San Francisco. ICE and EOIR issue new guidance authorizing widespread civil immigration arrests at courthouses. So this is, this is about not arresting people at immigration court. That's what, yeah, George Conway came in 5th. How embarrassing. That's great. You know what? Because frankly, I don't give a shit. If you were part of this regime and then somehow now you're not a part of it and you want to be a Democrat or something like that. Same thing with Lev fucking Parnas, who's running as an independent now because he knows he can't really be a Democrat. Fuck you. Fuck you. You were a criminal until you got caught. That's the only reason you're not a criminal now, bitch. The only reason you're not a criminal right now is because you fucking got caught. Fuck you. You don't stand for anybody but yourself. Give me a fucking break. And your son is just as bad. That Aaron Parnas, that kid's an idiot. He's an idiot. He's been going after power since before the jump. Fuck them. Fuck the Parnases. Get the fuck out of here. I'm so done with this bullshit. Just use people and you're just a fucking criminal. You're a big fucking sham. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway. All right. So this ruling basically, let me just get to the bottom line here because we've got so much to read. I want more to read to you. Let me see. Where is this? Where's the conclusion? In conclusion, where's my so ordered? Where is so ordered? Where is it? Where? Tell us what they're supposed to do. The APA claims are granted. The government's counter motions for partial summary judgment are denied. All right, you're not going to give me just the quick old list, are you? Additional reasons. Okay, well we're going to have to go bit by bit. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Oh man, you guys are poopy heads. You guys are poopy heads. Okay. For at least a decade. Okay, wait, where is it? Directive instructed. Okay. In 2021. Okay. Okay. ICE reversed course. Okay, so the rules had been that you cannot basically have arrests at courthouses. ICE reversed course in January 2025. Last month, the president revoked existing guidance regarding civil immigration enforcement priorities and instructed federal agencies to ensure the faithful execution of the immigration laws against all inadmissible and removable aliens. Executive order. Based on that EO, ICE rescinded its 2021 guidance and issued a new interim policy on civil immigration arrests at courthouses in January 2025, followed by a final version in May 2025. The new courthouse arrest policies acknowledge that civil immigration enforcement actions in or near courthouses are generally against targeted aliens, like those who pose a national security or public safety threat, have specific criminal convictions, are gang members, or have remained in or re-entered the United States after being ordered removed. Well, that's a pretty wide swath of people, actually. But in a departure from ICE's prior guidance, the new policies state that courthouse arrests are not limited to these groups, and that other non-citizens encountered in or near a courthouse may be subject to civil immigration enforcement action at courthouses on a case-by-case basis. Well, let's see. Unlike the 2021 guidance, ICE's 2025 courthouse arrest policies do not discuss immigration court specifically, but for more than a year after the issuance of the interim guidance in January 2025, the government explicitly and implicitly represented that ICE's new policies apply with full force to immigration courthouses. But wait a minute. This district court said, "Nuh-uh." Let's see. As the government disclosed, right? Okay, get it. I love all this background, but give me the bottom line. Okay, so this is all the background. But so basically, this has eliminated ICE's new policy adopted in January 2025 that immigration or that courthouses are a proper place to detain people. This judge said nationally that is not the case. And so, of course, this is going to be challenged. It will probably end up going to Supreme Court, and God knows what will happen then, but we can imagine. But yeah. Yeah, and fuck Michael Cohen. That's right. At least the smart people never trusted him. That's right. I didn't trust that guy from the fucking jump. And look, he's proven to be just the same little sycophant that all of them are. Okay, I will link this document so that you'll have a chance to go ahead and take a look at it. I know I've got a lot. I've got a lot of information that I want to share with you. Okay, this I found in ProPublica, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting. I don't know if it's interesting or not, but let's see if it is. So this is a ProPublica article. I cold called President Trump. Here's what he told me about an oil tycoon and major donor. This is from June 23rd. Okay, I was hoping that the president would give me some color about his relationship with billionaire Jeffrey Hildebrand. I walked away with a clearer picture of what matters in Washington right now. Boom, boom, boom. My family's morning routine is usually pretty ordinary. We wake up early, drink some coffee, and get our 1-year-old ready for daycare. But one Wednesday morning last month, I found myself uttering to my wife a sentence that sounded frankly surreal to both of us. Just to let you know, I'm about to call Trump. Then, hoping to avoid any urgent diaper events, I ducked into the next room and dialed up the president. I'd been trying to reach President Dump for a few days. Each time my heart would start pounding. After nearly 2 decades as a journalist, I'm reasonably used to talking to powerful people, but cold calling the President of the United States on his personal cell phone made me feel like a cub reporter all over again. "Hello?" a voice said on the other end of the line. This time, the president had picked up. I introduced myself and told Trump I'm a reporter with ProPublica. "I'm writing a story about a big supporter of yours in the oil industry, Jeff Hildebrand," I said. "Can I ask you what you think about him?" By this point, I had spent months reporting on Hildebrand, a little-known billionaire and major Trump donor who owns an empire of low-producing oil and gas wells across the country. Stripper wells like these contribute relatively little to the U.S. energy supply, but emit vast amounts of methane, a highly potent greenhouse gas. By calling the president, I was hoping for some color on his relationship with Hildebrand. He had, after all, named Hildebrand's wife ambassador to Costa Rica. My reporting so far had also revealed that the administration was gathering advice from oil industry groups backed by Hildebrand, and that it planned to weaken environmental regulations on stripper wells, potentially making Hildebrand even richer. "I hear he does a good job," Dump replied. "Don't know him very well, okay?" At first, I thought the exchange undermined my story, making Hildebrand seem less central to the president's energy policies than I'd suspected. But I realized that Trump's comments illustrated something important about how this administration works. Trump appeared to have little clue about Hildebrand's business, but when I mentioned that it was threatened by the Biden methane rules, the president was quick to respond, "Certainly we do the opposite of what Biden did." Dump, in other words, may only be only vaguely aware of the people and groups helping to rewrite all manner of consequential policies. But what matters in Washington right now are not so much technical policy details, but support for the president and an affinity with the broader ideological project. Deregulate everything. Even if the president is only loosely familiar with Hildebrand, the oil tycoon is someone you should know about. As a climate reporter, I'm always looking for ways to make the seemingly abstract problem of global warming feel more concrete, approachable, and even personal. With Hildebrand, I felt I had a compelling character who is also the poster boy for a hugely consequential issue. Stripper wells collectively contribute just 6% of the nation's oil and gas, but scientists have found that they're responsible for roughly half the sector's methane pollution. Let me read that again. Stripper wells collectively contribute just 6% of the nation's oil and gas, but scientists have found that they're responsible for roughly half the sector's methane pollution. This seems like an easy one. No more stripper wells. Sorry. That means they play an outsized role in climate change, which is amplifying heat waves, droughts, and wildfires. My previous reporting has shown that a former lobbyist for Hildebrand's company, who now has a top post at the EPA, has been rewriting methane regulations with advice from the oil industry. An EPA spokesperson said the official fulfilled all his ethical obligations to the letter. Don't worry. I mean, just this whole paragraph right here is just like, I don't know. I didn't even know this was happening. I feel so like this show just makes me feel like it's completely out of control. The EPA's office declined to comment on the details of its plans, but it confirmed it is working on a proposal to provide relief to the oil industry. Saying in a statement, we heard consistently from American oil and natural gas producers, shocker that we meet with stakeholders, that the Biden-Harris administration's oil and gas methane regulations were unworkable and unnecessarily restricted American energy dominance. In the story we ultimately published, I took a deep dive into how Hildebrand made his fortune, racking up dozens of environmental violations across the country, and now stands to benefit from the rollback that his former lobbyist is carrying out. I asked Hildebrand a number of times for an interview, even sending a letter to his home, but he didn't respond. A spokesperson for his company, Hillcorp, said its operations complied with state and federal rules, adding that Hillcorp was proud of recent efforts to reduce its methane emissions. So you know it's wrong, but you're just going to do it anyway. Okay. As with many climate change stories, it can all sound pretty bleak, but in a world where global warming fixes can seem impossibly daunting, limiting methane pollution from stripper wells is the rare low-hanging fruit. Andrew Logan of Ceres, a climate advocacy group, told me, if you could lose 6% of production and cut emissions in half, who wouldn't make that trade? Oh, bye, Neil. See you later, alligator. If you could lose 6% of production and cut emissions in half, who wouldn't make that trade? Instead, the Trump administration is doubling down on the forms of energy that contribute most to global warming. In January, the president invited Hildebrand and 24 other energy executives to the White House to discuss investing in Venezuela's decrepit oil industry, which emits more methane relative to production than almost any other major oil-producing country, according to International Energy Agency. Many of the executives couched their enthusiasm with caveats. ExxonMobil's CEO called Venezuela uninvestable without changes to its legal system. The head of ConocoPhillips wanted U.S. government financing. But Hildebrand had already seen how loyalty could be rewarded. Even though he had no notable operations outside of the U.S., he hunched toward a microphone and said in a halting voice, Hillcorp is fully committed and ready to go rebuilding the infrastructure in Venezuela. That's good, Trump said. You'll be very happy. I'm going to give you a lot of money. Yeah, so there's that. Let's see. This is good. We're getting through a lot of stuff. This is so good. I'm so happy. All right. Now, let's switch a little bit into more of like healthcare kind of information. This is actually from the middle of the month, from June 12th, but it's something that I had meant to read and we never got to it, so I wanted to kind of keep it up. Trump's DOJ can't get names in medical files of trans youth in California for now. Families of transgender youth in California learned this week that their private medical records will not be sent to the Trump administration for now. That's after a federal judge temporarily blocked hospitals in California from producing any documents responding to criminal subpoenas from the Department of Justice. For nearly a year, the DOJ has served hospitals with subpoenas seeking detailed patient files of transgender youth, personnel files for clinicians, and other documents related to transgender healthcare. Attorneys for the government haven't articulated exactly what's being investigated, but they have pointed to the stated goal of President Trump to end gender-affirming care for youth. This makes me so mad. There's just too much to fight, okay? Like, there's so much to fight. There's so much we have to fight. And it's all worthy. It's all important. At first, the DOJ issued administrative subpoenas, and many of those were quashed in court. Now they've moved to criminal subpoenas using a grand jury in a federal court in Texas. One was posted publicly by NYU Langone Medical Center last month. It's not known how many hospitals across the country have received the criminal subpoenas, but the notice from NYU said that it was one of several institutions to receive them. The Trump administration refers to transgender healthcare as sex-rejecting procedures in the subpoena. The administrative and criminal subpoenas are practically identical, says Shannon Minter, a legal director of the National Center for LGBTQ Rights, which has brought many of the lawsuits fighting these subpoenas. Nothing has changed. They haven't uncovered some new reason or basis to be seeking these records. It's pure harassment. It's just an effort to frighten people, to intimidate doctors out of providing the care, and to frighten patients and parents and make them afraid that the federal government is going to seek them out, identify them, and harm their families in some way. The win in California this week is significant, Minter says. A group of 6 families who received care at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital in Stanford sued to block the hospital from sending any of their medical files to the Justice Department. Right before a deadline for the hospital to send those files, a federal judge in the Northern District of California granted a request for a temporary restraining order that applies to the whole state. A Justice Department spokesperson in a statement said it will use every legal and law enforcement tool available to protect innocent children from being mutilated under the guise of care. That's really gross and disgusting and very misleading. Nobody's being mutilated. No one. No one. But you know, one of the things I saw last night in the documentary about early transgender people and people who, well, actually, I'm sure it's happening now. People who can't get access to that care can actually, just as with abortion health care, will go to extreme measures like injecting themselves with silicone or other things or hormones off the black market. So by eliminating care, you drive it underground and make it far more dangerous because people don't stop seeking that care. Okay, or seeking the solution that they need in order merely to exist. So fuck you and your mutilation. It's not mutilation. Hi, guy. That's embarrassing that you're standing there. All right. Arnie Johnson is the parent of a trans teen in the Bay Area and a volunteer with the group Rainbow Families Action. He says, even if the win is temporary, it's still a relief for parents like him. This is like being in a stormy ocean right now. Like you're floating on a raft and each individual wave is terrifying. But we also know that we have a really long journey to survive, says Johnson, who is not a plaintiff in the case. And just imagine that. Imagine a lot of people, you have your family. Think about your family right now. And think about if you were faced with a decision that you wanted to seek a certain medical care. But everyone around you, people who don't know your family, everyone had an opinion about that. Can you imagine that? Think about a medical thing that you've gone through. Imagine if the medical thing that you're going through is put on blast for the nation to comment on, and whether or not you should be allowed to have that whatever that procedure is. Imagine that. Make that make sense to me, because it really doesn't make sense to me. He says he's grateful to the families who brought the case and the attorneys representing them. It's impressive and very noble in a time when people are compromising and turning their backs on our families, he says, fighting tears. It just really means a lot to folks to see how hard people are working to fight for our kids. So far, the many legal challenges to the Dump administration's attempt to get the medical files of transgender youth have been quite effective, Minter says. We don't have any reason to believe that any hospitals have turned over records yet, but there would be no way to know that for certain, he adds. At the same time, many hospitals, look at all the hospitals that bent over fast and stopped providing gender-affirming care because they were afraid of lawsuits. Okay? So, hospitals probably bent the knee pretty fucking fast, it seems to me. At the same time, hospitals and clinics that had been providing gender-affirming care for young people all over the country have ended their programs. That's just what I was going to say. I mean, that's just what I said. I could have written this article, citing legal and financial pressure from the Dump administration. And this week, a federal judge in Maryland rejected a bid to certify a class of families of transgender youth nationwide to fight the administrative subpoenas. Craig Conniff is a professor specializing in health law and LGBTQ rights at University of Virginia School of Law. He notes that the federal government's moves to get private medical records are unprecedented and could have effects far beyond transgender youth. It's not just the search and seizure of medical records, he says. It's the ability of the government to come after you, hoping that they'll be able to catch you out in something, that they will attach a label to you afterwards because they don't like the group that you belong to or the group that you're trying to assist. That's why, he says, if the government succeeds in these efforts, the implications are vast. Because today, it's this. Tomorrow, there's no more condoms because you need to have a baby every time you badonk-a-donk. I mean, really. Really now. Oh, here's a fun healthcare related story. I think Tina or Teresa, you were the one who brought this up. I can't remember now. It is terroristic rhetoric. You're right. Eli Lilly gave an extraordinary obesity drug to a 79-year-old patient. Who was it? Oh my God. I couldn't read this because you have to have access to it. They lock the article. But I did then find, because that's the original article, but I did find this. Trump appears to be taking an experimental drug. Oops, sorry. Share this tab instead. Trump appears to be taking an experimental drug for a life-threatening condition. This is from, what is this from? Deep left field. I don't really know what that is, but they probably picked up this reporting from the other one. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Donald Trump appears to be taking an experimental drug that has only been approved for his use to treat medical conditions that can be fatal, according to a new report that is setting off alarm bells in the medical and political arenas. Lizzie Lawrence notes in Stat, millions of Americans with obesity are eagerly awaiting a powerful new drug from Eli Lilly called retatrutide. Retatrutide. That's not easy to say. Retatrutide, which has demonstrated bariatric surgery levels of weight loss. Some aren't even waiting for approval from the FDA, instead racing to acquire it through sketchy means. Oh my. But Stat has learned that Eli Lilly and the FDA have allowed one person to gain access to the drug through the FDA's Compassionate Use Program, a pathway that gives patients with serious and immediately life-threatening medical issues access to experimental treatments. Oh, is it Tina? Okay. Retatrutide is meant to treat the following conditions: refractory obesity with obstructive sleep apnea and pulmonary hypertension. I'm going to tell you right now, this man looks to me like he's in congestive heart failure. Okay, can I be real with you? I think he's in congestive heart failure. That's what I think. That's what I think. And that shit goes fast because he's retaining water. I swear to God, I think that's what it is. He's in congestive heart failure. I'm just saying. I am just saying. Confronted with the fact that the drug had been approved only for a 79-year-old man, Trump turned 80 last week, but was 79 when the approval was granted. The White House was asked if indeed the so-called president was taking the drug. The so-called president? It has yet to respond to the query. White House spokesperson Kush Desai directed Stat's inquiry to the Health and Human Services Department. Lawrence, in response to Stat's question about whether Dump has obstructive sleep apnea and pulmonary hypertension, Desai said in a White House memo detailing Trump's most recent medical evaluation covers this. The memo makes no mention of obstructive sleep apnea or pulmonary hypertension. Okay, well, then he doesn't have those. HHS spokesperson Emily Hilliard did not address the retatrutide application or the patient's identity. All of the intrigue set off alarms. I mean, this couldn't be anybody else, right? I resent how this administration makes me feel.
Winning by a lot. Miranda's making very big concessions. We'll see what happens, but it's been very, very, very powerful.
Are you going to hold everything hostage?
Mr. President, what about this? Mr. President.
That's congestive heart failure.
It's just every election is important. We're doing very well. They want a lot of communists to come in. I'm saying it a little bit differently, but the people that they're pushing are communists, and this country is not going to have communists.
Apparently we are because we're voting for it.
Is your move to cancel the housing bill going to work?
We're staying, guys, for holding. I think trying to visit Congress to tell them they got to pass the SAVE Act. That's what. All right, well, I guess that was it. Wow. Unfucking believable. Let me see if I can find any more on this. Hold on just a minute. Communist, so low class. I mean, come on now. This is so dumb. This is just really dumb. This is really dumb. It's really dumb. Let me see if I can find anything. I hesitate because I hate Mike's Little Johnson.
Chairman Hill did an extraordinary job in the housing bill. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I've got to address a very sobering reality that is facing the country this morning. I did it with the House Republicans, and I was pretty animated this morning. I was up late last night, as I'm sure many of you were, and you saw the result of this latest, these primary elections for the Democrat Party. The headlines this morning say it all. I've got a collection of them here. Socialist earthquake, one of them said. Mamdani candidates sweep New York House races. These are socialists.
Right,
these are
Dan?
Marxist in their ideology. Next headline, Mamdani hails new chapter for Democrats, one of the Chirons said this morning on the news.
Oh my God.
Hakeem Jeffries, my counterpart, the Democrat leader here in the House, was booed at some of these return parties last night.
Oh my God.
You saw that on social media and some of the
Oh my
clips.
God.
When he was being interviewed on the screen, the
Oh my
crowds
God.
in New York, in his own backyard,
People
in the
booed
Bronx,
at
in
him.
one of these districts, were booing him.
Oh my
And they
God.
shouted, "You're next." Hakeem Jeffries has a tall task ahead of him right now. He's got to go out and somehow make a credible pitch to Democrat establishment donors that
Listen, Boo Boo Kitty. Listen, Boo Boo Kitty. Democratic socialists and Democrats want essentially the same thing. Now, you can think that, this is somehow some different form of Democrat, but I'm going to be honest with you, it ain't. It ain't. This is the Democrats realizing that centrism and other things. Yeah, wait a minute. I didn't think he even had a bank account. That's a good point. Yeah, this is what Democrats want. It doesn't matter what you call it. Nobody gives a shit what you call it. You can get scared by a word called socialism, but we're not scared by that word because we're looking at actual policies and what people are willing to do for us. And guess what? The candidates in New York, they made a better case to the voters than the other candidates. And just like Hakeem Jeffries will have to do that, he'll have to make a better argument to the voters in order to get their vote. That's how we vote. Did someone push them down into the sand where his head could see them? Exactly. Did we put them underground so that the Chiron? Yeah, and listen, I'm going to be very, very clear about this. Being anti-AIPAC, being anti, Bibi Netanyahu is not anti-Semitism. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. It is nothing about that. It is about the genocidal administration within Israel that has been calculatingly trying to kill and take land from people around them. That is what's wrong with Israel. So in case, get it straight. And also, if you're for money in politics from big PACs, what are you even doing that? Yeah, exactly. Tell it to Dan Goldman. Well, I think the voters told him. I like Dan Goldman. I think he's a pretty good rep. He's pretty on it. But you know what? I understand that voters are going to make a different decision and say, no, I don't want you to be loyal to this money. Sorry. I mean, that's the voter. This is a beautiful outcome actually for the Democrats. It's helping Democrats understand what is important to their voters, which is exactly why they're there in the first place. Hello. So it'll be pretty great when he solves the Protestant Reformation and then unites all the Abrahamic faiths. Yeah, that'll be pretty great. Anyway,
That's a good
Moses.
national
This is from
investment
a
right
while
now. That's a
ago.
tough one to make. He has just proven that he cannot even hold the line in his own backyard. How can he possibly defend against the Marxist march around the country in these other districts? This is not your father's Democrat Party, as we see all the time. Last night, among the incumbents who lost,
you know what?
Adriano Espia.
Actually, Moses, I think it is my father's Democrat Party. Yeah, his district is majorly Jewish. You can't call him anti-Semitic. His voters aren't anti-Semitic. I mean, yeah, actually, this is exactly the Democrat Party that I grew up with my dad, that actually wanted to help people, that actually was the working class party. Sorry. So yeah, this would be closer to what my dad's Democrat Party wanted to be and look like. It probably had too much window dressing, right? And not enough actual substance. Don't get me wrong, I can complain about Democrats from time immemorial. The Working Families Party's on the move. Again, I think these are all iterations of things that help give us more people-focused policies and politicians. Because they're supposed to represent. So I don't know. I don't know how mad Dan Goldman can be. I think he understands the process. We may exactly. Right. How is he on top of this? We made a racist like LBJ sign the Civil Rights Bill. So yeah,
who's chair of the Democrats' Hispanic
can
Caucus.
Be better.
Dan Goldman, who was mocked for his Jewish heritage in a coffee shop in New York and maligned online because of it. The Democrat Party, the socialists, the Marxists have nominated some of the most radical candidates to ever run for office, and they're running for Congress. The insurgent left is on the rise. I was reminded all last night and this morning about the warning, the admonition from
do you answer questions?
The greatest country in the history of the world. We hold these truths to be self-evident, making a more perfect union.
Oh my God.
Inherent,
How dare you.
because it's given to you by God. The Marxists and the socialists do not believe what I just told you. They don't believe it. Marxism, Karl Marx, his philosophy begins with the premise that there is no God. The state is the God. The state is the one that gives you your rights. And guess what? When the state gives you all your rights, the state can take the rights away. Nobody's telling all these little young self-described socialists, oh, we'll give you free stuff, but you're going to have to give up your freedom to go along with it. They don't tell them that. No. This thing's going to crash.
Because that's not true. Because that's not true. Because that's not true.
Crash and burn. It always has throughout history. And the lesson of the 20th century alone is that tens of millions of innocent people have died because of these crazy, quixotic notions. We have to stand for freedom. We got to stand for America. We got to stand on the 250th.
Oh, he is so scared. He is so scared. Oh my God. They are pooping their pants right now. I think the New York primaries scared the fuck out of these guys. I think it scared the fuck out of these guys.
Birthday with greater conviction, clarity, and consistency than we ever have.
Yeah, it ain't nice.
I'm glad that millions of visitors here for the World Cup see that. I'm glad they got a little timely reminder. They're giving us one. All our faults and disagreements aside, America's filled with the most decent and faithful people. This grand experiment in self-governance has worked because we have adhered to the beacon of hope and freedom and opportunity that this country. I'm up to fight. These guys are up for the fight. This chairman's up for the fight. All our colleagues are.
They look, okay, you know what, Mike? They look really haggard. Okay, this guy looks like I'm tired, and there isn't enough vodka in the world to get me through this. Steve Scalise, or is that Scalise? Yeah. Is like, no, I'm not Steve King, even though I look like him. I probably think the same of him, but did you hear I got shot? Yeah, that's right. He's accountability buddy. This bitch, she is born haggard. She is so tired of this. In est somnambulant. I like that word, but I don't know how to say it.
In the process of this press conference, President Trump announced that he is canceling the bill signing for the housing bill that you all were just talking about. He said he's canceling it until the SAVE Act is passed, and he called this housing bill, which passed with such bipartisan support, of minor importance, and said it pales in comparison to the SAVE Act. What is your reaction?
Yeah, my reaction is the truth of the matter. I spoke to the president for 20 minutes before I went in and gave that rousing speech to the House Republicans this morning. He and I've talked about this a lot. He has expressed the priority and the preference of the Save America Act. We share that. We passed it 3 times in the House. The latest version was passed a few months ago, and it has proof of citizenship to register to vote and the proof of showing a photo ID when you show up to vote. Basic issues that 90% of Americans agree.
Why does it have anything about
70% of Democrats
transgender in
think you ought to
there?
have a photo ID to vote, and citizenship to vote in an American election is already in the law. But
Then
we have to
why do
enforce
we
it,
need
because we've
it?
got a few blue states that don't do that. The president
We
believes
do
in election
too.
integrity. He talks about it all the time, and we do as well. In act and deed, we have stood for that. We passed the Save America Act again. Here's this. Let me finish this. This is very important. That is the top priority, because if you do not have safe elections in this grand experiment in self-governance that we have in a constitutional republic, you don't have anything. And we got to ensure.
We have safe elections. Sorry, there's just no data to prove otherwise. And trust me, people have looked for it. And if they could find it, I would tell you we would be having a different fucking conversation now. If there were data that there was widespread fraud or even significant fraud, we would have it so fast. Believe me, I know. People have been looking for it. So fuck you, Mike. This isn't going to secure elections. This is the Republicans and their continued fight to ensure that less people vote, because they know that when less people vote, they have a better chance of winning. Literally, folks, this is not a mystery. This has literally been the playbook from the fucking jump. The less people that vote, these guys think, I don't think it's true, but whatever. These guys think the less people vote, the more they win. That is literally what they think. That is what all of this is about. That's what they think. That seems pretty stupid to me.
We have to press for election integrity measures. That's why we've made it a top priority. It has been stuck in the Senate, and here's why. Because no Democrat in the House or Senate will vote
That's
for
right.
the Save America Act. Those two
It's
things I just told you,
dumb.
they vote against that every single time, and they will. Why?
Because
you ask that. That's a rhetorical question. You should go ask them the actual question. Why? Are you against proof of citizenship and a photo ID? Why is
because it
that?
already
They
exists.
can't give you a cogent answer. The
It
reason
already
is they
exists.
do want to allow for cheating and fraud in the elections because
No,
it is
we
the
don't.
only way that the Marxists can win. They cannot win on their ideas.
The Marxists just won on their ideas. You just talked about New York. You just talked about New York. You just talked about an election where people voted their conscience and they upturned precedent. They shocked the system by voting for people that were not the incumbents. Bitch, that's what we're doing. Oh my God, please don't buy this. Anybody? Are you buying this? Where's Super Salty? He would buy this. Tell me why this makes sense to you, Super Salty.
That's why this is so important. The president is to us. So how does that tie into housing?
Chud.
He's laser focused
My
on
chud
Save
in
America
residence.
Act, as most common sense Americans are. The only path, I think, to
I'm
get
the
that
chud
done,
in residence.
because you're never going to
I'm
get 7
taking
Democrats to
application.
join 53 Republicans in the Senate to do that. They will not do it. Chuck Schumer will never vote for that or release any Democrat to do it. You have to put it on a record.
Because we're not going to vote for stupid laws that stop people from voting. Oh, and by the way, our draconian attempts to stop people from getting access to medical care, unbelievably. So no, we won't. And if any of them do, they're not Democrats, they're Republicans.
Reconciliation bill. We believe that if you create a grant program
This is so
that ties it
stupid.
to reconciling the budget, and you allow blue states, if they come to their senses and they want to avail themselves of election integrity
We have
proposals,
election integrity. You're assuming that we don't have election integrity, you stupid cunt. Show me the data. Show me the fucking data.
and ideas and policies, they can draw down from a federal fund and use those funds. We're willing to invest heavily in that.
You. Nobody
And House
gives a
Republicans
shit
will put
what you
together
want,
a reconciliation
that
bill,
you're willing
reconciliation
to invest
3.0,
in.
that will have that.
Go
I
fuck
talked the president
yourself.
through that in detail this morning, as I have in the
These
past.
police that went to
And
a
he said,
Duke gathering.
can we do it? I said, we can. If the Republicans will stand together. We're on the line right now to defend it. Hold on. So that's what we're going to do.
He is
The president
scared.
said, I want to see some
Well,
progress on it. I said, I'd love to show it to you. We got a meeting today and some more coming up. And so he decided, and I didn't announce it, I
Don't
wanted
do
him to
this,
announce it,
Democrats.
but we're delaying
Do not
this. As you
fucking
know,
do
he has a
this.
window of time
Do not
before he has to
fucking
sign a
do
bill.
this.
And he's going to use a little bit more of that window of time, and we're going to go through this together. Now,
No.
the housing bill is a great product because this guy right here fought like a warrior poet.
So you're going to stop relief for people during the worst time of our economic lives. You're going to stop people from being able to access housing and other things on a bill that you agree is good. But just because your petulant child raping president decides that he wants this other thing to happen because he knows he can't win an election without some form of manipulation, although whatever. I'm so mad. I hate this timeline so much.
To defend our principles. It did have a lot of Elizabeth Warren's preferences and policy provisions in the
mad.
original Senate bill, but that's why we spent months and months and months doing the tug of war, and we wound up having 85%, that's my estimate, maybe more, of the housing, of the final product
estimate.
is housing conservative priorities and policies. And the other things that are in there are not consequential. Not as consequential as all the great things that Chairman Hill outlined. I mean, we're addressing the...
You just gulped. Are you panicking right now? You just gulped. Because basically what you're trying to explain to the American people is the fact that you're stopping something that's going to make their lives easier because of the petulant child rapist. That's literally what he's telling you, people. It's literally what he's telling you. Because of the child rapist that he has to make happy, you can't have something that both sides of the Congress agreed that you should have. Literally, put that in your fucking brain right now, Chuds. Put that in your fucking brain. This is this is a game. This is a game. This is a game, and you should be really, really, really fucking mad about it.
It's transformational legislation because we're addressing the affordability problem in housing. That, as he said, has
Bend over
persisted since COVID.
backwards. I bend over backwards for the man that had a little 13-year-old try and bite his dick. So he punched her in the face. You happy now? You feel good about your vote?
When interest rates are high and costs are high, it makes the barrier to entry so high that young families can't get into houses anymore. That's not a Republican or Democrat problem. It's an American problem. So Americans are fixing it. And so we're going to reduce regulation so builders can build. We're going to limit institutions.
But you didn't, because you basically let your boss say, I'm not going to sign it. I know you guys have been working for months on it, but I'm not going to sign it. Manage your man. Fix your man, Mike. Fix your man.
Investing in the housing market. We're going to bring the American dream back within the grasp of hardworking American families. It's critical to do. Great policy. The president, when we go through the details of the bill, he's going to understand that it's a good product, and certainly something that fulfills his promises to bring down the cost. Interest rates is another big priority of his and all of ours. And I think the new Fed chair will do that. We get the economy humming again. We keep the Strait of Hormuz open. We keep gas prices down to earth. This economy is going to take off like a rocket, y'all. Because in 2025, as Scott Bessent said, the Treasury Secretary said months ago, 2025 was like setting the table. The feast and the banquet in the economy is in 2026. We were doing that in the first quarter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. They just set the table in 2025. Now the banquet really begins. Now the banquet really begins. Is this like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones? I feel like it is. I'm going to take a minute, and it's not, I'm going to take a minute because I'm so angry. So I apologize, and we'll move on. We'll move on from this, actually, But I want to read this. This is from, what is this from? This is from PBS, the communists at PBS. 16 women, let's just talk about who this man is that we're standing up for. Let's just talk about him. I just want to know. 16 women have accused Donald Trump of various forms of sexual assault, including one accusation of rape and another in which the accuser has not used the word rape, but whose description meets the legal definition of rape. This figure includes standing accusations from both before and after the release of the Access Hollywood tape from on October 7th, 2016. October 7th, whose birthday is that? Putin. 4 other women have publicly said Mr. Dump walked in on them and other pageant contestants while they were undressing. BuzzFeed reports another 3 women have confirmed the pageant stories but did not want their names used. The alleged incidents ranged from the early 80s to 2013. Donald Trump has adamantly denied, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit. Here's what we know about the accusations, and I'm going to be reading things that might be disturbing to hear, so I just want to give that warning in advance. But I actually think we cannot stop reminding people who this man actually is and what he represents. Kristen Anderson, early 1990s, Washington Post reported, Anderson says she was in a Manhattan bar with friends when the person next to her reached up under her skirt and touched her vagina through her underwear. She says she turned around and recognized the person as Donald Trump. E. Jean Carroll describes running into Trump in a department store where she says he recognized her for her widely read advice column. Carroll says they went into a dressing room after Trump asked her for advice on a present, lingerie for another woman. Inside, she alleges that he shoved her against a wall, forcing his fingers around my private area, thrust his penis halfway or completely, I'm not certain, inside me. And he was convicted by a jury of his peers for that. like actually convicted. Rachel Crooks, 22-year-old receptionist at the time, Crooks said Trump gave her an unwanted kiss on the mouth after meeting him in 2005. Katie Johnson, that is a name that is not a real name. It's a pseudonym for this young woman. 1994, lawsuit filed in 2016 and then dropped. And that one is one that I suspect, Michael Cohen had a hand in strong-arming this woman to drop her case. Jane Doe is an unnamed plaintiff who has also gone by Katie Johnson in legal papers. She claims she was repeatedly raped by Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at Epstein's New York City apartment in 1994 when she was 13 years old. A witness, also given a pseudonym, Tiffany Doe, said she recruited Jane Doe and others. Doe, using the name Johnson, gave an interview with the Daily Mail in which she said she did not know who Trump was at the time of the alleged attack, but identified him later when she saw him on television. It's not known why she withdrew the lawsuit. Well, we do actually have some information about that because Michael Cohen actually talks about it, and that it happens shockingly in the same time frame as this. This is why Michael Cohen is no longer part of Midas Touch, folks, because this story actually is being tied more closely to him, even though he's not the lawyer of record on the dismissal. He describes activities where he went after one of the women who accused Trump of rape and claimed that he couldn't find anything about her. And then mysteriously, within a month, she dropped her case. But his job was to find her. He admits it. What the fuck? Jessica Drake, 2006. While working as an adult film actress, Drake says Trump invited her to the room where he was staying in Lake Tahoe. In the room, she says he grabbed, hugged, and kissed her and two other women who accompanied her without permission. Later, she alleges that Trump called her and pressed her to return to his room, offering $10,000. Drake said she declined. Jill Harth, a Florida businesswoman who partnered with Dump and later dated him. Harth alleged that he groped her under the table at dinner with her boyfriend and then repeatedly got her alone, and it would turn into a wrestling match. She sued Trump for breach of contract, sexual harassment, and at one point attempted rape. She settled, and then in 1998 dated Trump. 1997, Kathy Heller at a Mother's Day brunch for Mar-a-Lago Club members in 1997. Heller alleges that when she was introduced to Dump, he grabbed her and tried to kiss her on the lips. Heller says she leaned back to avoid him, and then he kissed her on the side of her mouth. Nini Laaksonen, former Miss Finland. Laaksonen told Finnish newspaper Ilta Sanomat that Trump squeezed her butt as she and other pageant contestants stood next to him for a publicity photo ahead of an appearance at the Letterman show. And you know what? That was enough to get Al Franken to resign from Congress. Okay, so, I mean, what are we doing here? Jessica Leeds. Leeds says she sat next to Trump in first class on an airplane and that he kissed her, groped her chest, and reached up her skirt, leading her to move back to coach. He was like an octopus, she told the New York Times. In a New York Post report published in 2016, a British man whose interview was arranged by the Dump campaign said that he was on the flight and that that Leeds' account is false. Oh, but he was arranged by the Trump campaign? Oh, what's suspicious about that? Mindy McGillivray, working as an assistant to photographers at Mar-a-Lago in 2003, McGillivray charges that Trump nudged or grabbed her from behind. So a very handsy guy. 2004, Jennifer Murphy, a former Miss USA and Apprentice contestant, Grazia says that Trump kissed her on the lips after walking her to the elevators following a meeting in New York, which she said was to discuss a possible job. Cassandra Searles, 2013, Miss Washington, 2013. Searles wrote on Facebook, he probably doesn't want me telling the story about that time. He continually grabbed my ass and invited me to his hotel room. Natasha Stoyanov, December 2005. Stoyanov was a celebrity reporter covering Trump for People magazine. She alleges that Trump assaulted her while she was at Mar-a-Lago interviewing him and Melania Trump for a story about their one-year anniversary. She alleges Trump took her to a private room, pushed her against the wall, and aggressively kissed her. Stoyanov also says a staffer told her Trump was waiting for her the next day at a massage appointment. Yeah, I'm going to link all this because I really think that we need to not, oh, I like Lisa. We really need to not forget that this man has a very storied history of sexual assault. And there are plenty of 302 forms of interviews separately with separate women who are women, but were girls at the time, who complain about Mr. Dump. So this one was from 2019. So this isn't even after. This is an article from like literally a long time ago. Yeah, death threats. Yeah. So many similar storylines, huh? Yeah. Anyway, so that's even just an old one. That doesn't even talk about the stuff that we've learned as a result of the release of the Epstein files. So don't you think that stuff should be investigated, Chuds? Wouldn't you want that investigated? Okay, we're going to leave Magic Mike because he's clearly not going to make me any happier with his ridiculousness. So we're going to leave him. Let's see. Oh gosh, I got to go. I got to move us. I have so much I want to do. I would be on 24 hours a day if I could. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta get this house ready to move. Damn it. I hate this. I hate it. All right. Damn it. Damn. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough time in the day. But thank you. I would love to see AOC become majority leader. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea to have her do that. The Chuds have weighed in on it. They like it. Yep, he's a man's man. That's right. Make it stop. Make it stop. There's not enough weed. No, there is enough weed. Oh boy. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry this was a packed morning of not very happy stuff. But we're going to keep an eye on things and see what happens with this housing bill and the SAVE Act and all that. We didn't even talk about the war. We didn't do any of this stuff that I want. I have so many things. Okay. Well, I'm going to try again tomorrow. Because I have a lot of things I want to talk about. Okay. All right. But I will be back tomorrow morning. There you go. He's a stud. He's a player. He deserves to be slayed. No. Anyway. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming and spending so much time and putting up with my ridiculous presentation of the news. I so appreciate it. You don't even know. I know you have choices when it comes to your morning news, and I'm just delighted that you choose me. To all the 13 viewers, thank you so much for coming. Please hit the like on your way out. Share the least appreciated show on YouTube. I'm not bullying anybody except for the people that deserve it. I'm not sitting here getting drunk and showing you my tits, which would probably turn you off. I'm actually trying to do something to help this world and try and help us understand a little bit more of what's going on. So please share the show because I think we deserve a little bit bigger audience. Quality is great, but I think we could handle some more viewers and this type of information getting out. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think it's really something we could do. Okay. Thanks so much. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.